Okay, my dudes, I think we're live. Let's get this going. And I'm going to try to do something a little bit different in this draft. Now, I'm not going to give away my strategy right away because I think we really need to be placing an emphasis on making some different builds here. Because when we're talking underdog fantasy, while yes, what we're doing every single night and what we're doing in these drafts in particular, they are very normal compared to what you're going to be playing in with your league. And that's why I keep it to the private drafts, because I think that's an extremely useful tool for what you should be doing in your own league, and you shouldn't necessarily be trying to accomplish something unique. But underdog fantasy, which we have not discussed that much before, and this is honestly what I do throughout my entire day, to be completely honest, is I go through and I play in their contest where it's called Best Ball Mania. It's a $25 buy-in, and they actually have $1 million on top. It's $1 million prize pool. And if you just know how it works, so what you have to do is through the first 14 weeks, you play in your own 12-person league. And then the top two people in your league get placed into an 18-man pool. And that plays out in week 15. And then the two highest scores in week 15 get placed into another 18-team pool. Then the two highest scores in week 15, I believe the top score in week 15 for that pool, 16, whatever. I'm messing up the weeks. And then the last week, you have 160 teams in one pool, and the winner of it gets $1 million. So I've been going through, I've been trying to enter as many teams as I possibly can, not telling you to do the same thing, not telling you to do that whatsoever. I mainly just want $1 million. That'd be pretty cool. And B, the bragging rights to be able to go through and actually come away with the winner. But the strategy in a league like that, where it's a tournament style, is going to be a little different, where it actually matters for you to go out there and build a very unique team that not many people are going to have. So in this draft, I'm going to treat it very similar, where I'm going to try something different. It's not going to look like a normal draft, and I want to make sure we're trying to be unique. I want to go and push the boundaries and go, can we still build a very strong team while being completely different from the rest of the field and trying to accomplish something that nobody else is doing? So this may be a massive fail. This may be the best draft you've ever seen. Regardless, we are going to get into it. Let me send out the first link that we have over there on Patreon. Also, I need to pull up a Discord real quick to let people know that we are live on Discord, because I'd imagine that not that many people are going to get the notification for this live stream, given the fact that this is our third video today. We uploaded 2 videos today, and we are going live. Okay, so let's send this out. And we got Luke subscribing. Thank you for joining the flock, Luke. I will say we passed 30,000 subscribers last night. So that is massive. And it looks like this draft is filled. So let's get this going. We get the 106. Okay, it's going to be a little harder to build a unique team for the 106 just because you're in the middle of the draft. And we know at that point, you're more so just trying to take value. But we're still going to try to do it. We're still going to try to build a team that we haven't seen anybody else accomplish before. So let's go, and I'm not going to give away too much of what we're doing. And let me also go over, turn the chat on subscriber only. That way, I know that pretty much everybody in the chat right now is going to be a subscriber, but 20 minutes from now, I want to make sure that I'm still able to catch up and read what y'all are saying. Okay, so we'll change that. We'll send this out. Thomas, okay, I thought Thomas said, give me the 101, let's go. I was going to say, if Thomas got the 101 again. Okay, Thomas gets the 105. Okay, we're going to be drafting next to Thomas. I know what Thomas likes to do in these leagues, so I think that I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to have to keep my mouth shut, show you all our game plan once we get about round 10. I think it'll be clear what we're doing. Okay, so Christian McCaffrey at the 101. Dalvin Cook. Okay, so this should be very standard. Let me switch it over so y'all can see it in the draft format. I know a lot of other people prefer this way compared to what we usually are showing. And also, I wonder if we can... No, we're not going to mess with that. We're not going to mess with that. Okay, so Derrick Henry at the 103. Brian says, is this your Best Ball Mania draft? No, this is me going through and saying, let's treat this like a Best Ball Mania team. So like I said, guys, if you don't know what Best Ball Mania is, it is on Underdog. And it's the $1 million contest. Okay, so we're going to be taking Travis Kelce here at the 106. So it's the $1 million contest. So it's very, very important to be completely unique, because you don't want a team that looks similar to others, because when you're going to be playing in the large field contest, when you get to the playoff weeks, if you have a team that's very similar to others, even if you have Alvin Kamara, you have just say CeeDee Lamb smashes and he's a top 5 receiver. And at the same time in round 3, you have Keenan Allen, say Keenan Allen also becomes a top 5 receiver. There are going to be a lot of other teams with that same combination of players. So here we're going to go through, we're going to try to build something a little different. It's probably going to fail. But the big thing is, with so much money on the top, I'm honestly not going to be too worried about losing in one of those leagues. More so, I'm going to be worried about trying to have the highest ceiling possible and coming away with the first overall spot, because the first overall spot's $1 million. Yeah, they give out like $250,000 to like second or something. They give out a lot of money to second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. But it would be first place. That's what I want. That's what I want, so I can come out and I can make a YouTube video saying, oh, look at me, genius, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, I would run victory laps until I could not talk anymore if we won that. Y'all know every single video I would have to just come out and say, you know what? This is Mason Dodd. Yes, you remember me. I was the guy who won $1 million in underdog last year in a fantasy football draft. Yes, that was me. You know, I'll begin every single video like that next year if we end up winning. So I want to practice. This is what I'm doing all day because, I mean, I'm going to be honest too. The leagues that we were drafting in Best Ball Mania, I feel like they're easier drafts, way easier drafts than what we have here. Because you'll be in Best Ball Mania and there'll be like a team that takes 7 running backs in the first 7 rounds, and then they'll go 4 quarterbacks in a row. And you're sitting there going, all right, buddy, thanks for paying the rake. Thank you for just donating your money to the league pot. Thank you for that. And here that never really happens unless you get SPAC in a draft. So let's go through, and we have Zeke, Barkley, Jones, Eckler, Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Antonio Gibson going off the running back position. Here we have Tyreek, Diggs, Hopkins, Calvin Ridley falling all the way to the 205. That is very interesting. So now we're going to be on the clock. We're going to take best player available in a DK Metcalf. So now we are starting this draft off with Travis Kelce, DK Metcalf. And Brian says, would you punt on Chiefs, maybe expecting them to sit starters in week 17 or 18? If you're playing in a league that plays all the way through week 18, you need to fix your life. You should be done playing fantasy football by the time we get to week 18. I'll say that. So Thomas goes and changes it up on us a little bit here. So Thomas usually goes running back, then receiver, 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 receiver. So it is intriguing to see him instead go with Adams, Clyde, Edwards-Helaire. Honestly, I kind of like it. Okay, so now let's go through. And also, let me just pull up our chat real quick so I can go through and read it a little better. Spac says, I would have to unsubscribe if you won $1 million. Guys, I would be unbearable if that happened. I will tell you that right now. I would, like, if I won $1 million on Underdog, and I'm not joking about this, at least for a month, every video I record, I would have a monocle on. I would be looking like the Monopoly man. I'll tell you that. And then I'll have like a giant sign behind me that just says, I am the smartest person on the planet. Something along those lines. Obviously not that I got lucky at all. I would just, if I lose this year and I don't go and win the $1 million, of course, it's just such a large field tournament. It's mainly luck, blah, blah, blah. But if I win, you better believe there's nothing lucky about it. Nothing at all. Okay, so now we have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Najee Harris, A.J. Brown, Darren Waller at the 211. This is a very standard draft. I really hope we see some off-the-wall picks sometime soon. Usually through the first 2 rounds, it's pretty... I mean, I know a lot of people are probably screaming that Najee Harris is a faller here at the 209. Honestly, I'm completely fine with Najee Harris at the 209. I probably would prefer Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well if you're considering the offenses that they're going to be playing in. Now, Lamb goes at the 301. I'll say that with the CeeDee Lamb, I think we have to drop him just slightly. Like if we pull up real quick and look at the other players that were on the board, you had both a George Kittle and a Keenan Allen. So I think possibly we'd have looked to go with one of those players over him. You have Dobbins at the 303. So we're going to be on the clock. And I know we were talking about building a unique team. And I think you really want to be trying to just completely separate yourself from the rest of the field. So we may be doing something off the wall here. And keep in mind, guys, this first draft we're going to do, we're treating this as it's a Best Ball Mania draft. We're treating it as if it's the large field tournament. Now, Kittle goes at the 305. I was honestly going to consider taking Kittle there and see if we can create a unique build with the combination of Travis Kelce, George Kittle. That doesn't happen. So instead, we will go with an Allen Robinson here to start this off with a Travis Kelce, Allen Robinson, and a DK Metcalf. Okay, also, guys, thank you so much for everybody who's been dropping likes on the videos. Literally, The video that we just uploaded, the top 12 receiver video, I was sitting in the premiere and there were like 200 people in the premiere at once. And the video already had like 100 likes within the first 20 minutes it was uploaded. That is absolutely crazy. We're closing in on 100 likes on this live stream right here. So thank you everybody going down there and dropping that like. Okay, so Robert Woods at the 307, Swift going at the 308. I've actually seen in those Best Ball Mania drafts, you have J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift falling to the 3-4 turn a lot, which of course is intriguing. And I've actually taken DeAndre Swift and J.K. Dobbins in about the middle of the 4th round, but that's not happening in every single draft. That's only a few Best Ball Mania drafts. And like I said, guys, I really think that those Best Ball Mania drafts, I don't want to say they're easy to create a great team, but I think they're at least easier than these draft rooms. Now you have Montgomery at the 309, Amari Cooper, who I think should be rising now that he is off the PUP. NRG Fantasy Focus says, any high stakes leagues today, and I didn't win yesterday. I got 9th place in the tourney. My man, I am sorry to hear you got 9th and didn't take it home. I think that's probably because not enough people in this live stream sent some good luck over to you. But yeah, guys, we will be doing a high stakes draft later today. We'll be doing a draft where I'm treating it just completely how I would if it was a regular fantasy football league. This one, like I said, it's a $5 warm-up draft. So I'm going to be willing to go a little bit off the wall here. We're going to be willing to go and try something else. Okay, so Carson, Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett, keep in mind that since this is an underdog league, he's a little more valuable here because if you're unfamiliar with underdog fantasy, you don't have to submit your starting lineup every single week. Instead, it automatically gets submitted for you at the end of the week, which is honestly my favorite thing about underdog. Of course, you're not replacing the current fantasy platform you're drafting on. I mean, if you're playing on a platform with your buddies and y'all are going through and doing a regular fantasy football league, then of course you keep doing that. 100% you're always going to keep doing that. But underdog is just so good because you can go through and you can get in a ton of drafts, and at the same time, they're for real money, and it doesn't take anything away from the commitment that you're going to be putting into your other teams throughout the season. So if you think about that, a Tyler Lockett is going to be extra valuable. And the one complaint that you have with the Tyler Lockett is you don't necessarily know when to start him. But on underdog, that doesn't matter because when he does see his 40, 50 point blow up week, then all of a sudden he automatically gets submitted into your starting lineup. So this sucks. I mean, I literally wanted any of these 4 players to fall to us. Now we're going to probably grab a Brandon Ayuk here. Now, considering Ayuk, this is a player that's been rising in ADP, and I think it has a lot to do with what Trey Lance has looked like. And I'll say that with a Trey Lance, I mean, we have made this point time and time again. I think it's a much more natural fit with the Brandon Ayuk because we have seen Lance aggressively target receivers deep downfield in college. And we know that Adebo Samuel is someone running close to the line of scrimmage, whereas a Brandon Ayuk is going to be running those deeper routes. So I think we're going to take Ayuk here at the 407. And we have a lot of intriguing stacks that we can go out there and get later on. We can get the Brandon Ayuk and the Trey Lance. We can get the Allen Robinson and the Justin Fields. We can get the DK Metcalf and the Russell Wilson. So we have a very interesting build and how it sets up with our quarterback play later on in the draft. Honestly, I really like it. Okay, so now you have T. Higgins, who honestly, I probably wanted to take Higgins after Ayuk, but a big thing is when we take Ayuk here, we have the potential to grab Debo later on, and then we also have the potential to go through and make that double stack with a Trey Lance. Whereas if you're taking a T. Higgins here, we know that there's no way that a Jamar Chase makes it back to us in a draft like this because people that are drafting in these private drafts with us, I swear to God, they're way smarter than what you have in the public leagues on Underdog. And in those public leagues on Underdog, I've literally earlier today, I'll go through, and I'm not joking, guys. What I do during the day is I just go through and I work on Patreon. I make podcasts on Patreon. I go through, answer questions, do team write-ups, yada, 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 go through, look at projections and look at any news that we have for the preseason. At the same time, make videos, do the research for the videos, just all a bunch of random fantasy football stuff. But I am 100% always having a draft pulled up on my second monitor where it's just a live draft because, I mean, I think we're crushing people out there. I honestly kind of want to just do $5 leagues with y'all so I can save some money to put the money into the public leagues because I think we're going to have a higher win rate with the public leagues than we have on here. But I got Jamar Chase in the middle of the 5th round in a draft today. It felt really, really good. And what also feels really, really good is we just passed 100 likes in the live stream. Thank you, everybody going down there and dropping that like. And now Miles Sanders, Travis Etienne going off. If you look at my exposures for players that we have drafted on Underdog, Miles Sanders and Travis Etienne are my number 1 and number 2 drafted running backs so far. I've been getting them in the 5th round almost every single draft. Now let's pull this back up. So we are going to be 2 picks away. So you have a Lamar going here. Okay, so YouTube Slater, he's drafted Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, Terry McLaurin, and Jamar Chase. So he goes with a Josh Allen. So Allen, I honestly probably wouldn't have considered. So I do like to see Allen go off the draft board. Now, I think I know where Thomas is going to go here. So he has started his draft off CEH, Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, and a George Kittle. Now, I think that there's going to be like a 10-second delay. So let me just wait a little bit. My guess is he goes Adam Thielen. My guess is Thomas goes Adam Thielen. Yeah, that's what he ended up doing. So now we're in a spot where if we were in a regular league, I think we 100% take Darrell Henderson. But if we're trying to create a unique roster, I think in a Best Ball Mania draft, I'm not drafting Darrell Henderson because there are a lot of teams that drafted earlier this offseason that got him past the 10th round. So, I mean, you can't really win with the Darrell Henderson in the 5th. So if we're going to be ignoring that, and I think we actually just go and we get a Josh Jacobs here. I mean, I just simply can't reach on an Odell Beckham Jr. over a Jacobs. And I think we still have the potential to go through and build a unique team with Josh Jacobs, because a big thing that we have to take into account, and keep in mind, this isn't a Best Ball Mania draft, but I'm treating it as one. So here, if we're treating this as a Best Ball Mania draft, I'm going to be very willing to go through and draft the Josh Jacobs at the 506, because in a lot of leagues earlier this offseason, he was actually going in the 3rd round. So we have a build right now that I want to say any team that was drafted before probably August, honestly, had no access to, because back then you had to actually take a Josh Jacobs in the 3rd or the 4th. So there are a lot of teams that when they were drafted had Allen Robinson and Josh Jacobs in the same round. So I think we are accomplishing something here, taking Jacobs over Darrell Henderson in a Best Ball Mania format. And I know this may be just, I know I may just be so far beyond the scope of regular fantasy football. I promise you we'll get to a regular league in a second, but I've had a lot of people asking us for our $1 million draft plan. And this is kind of me going through and me doing this thought process and telling y'all exactly what I'm thinking as I would go through and do one of these drafts. Okay, so the Pacifier coming out with a donation says, congrats on 30K. My man, thank you so much for the congrats. Yeah, 30,000 subscribers. That's a pretty big number. Thank you so much for everybody supporting, dropping likes on the videos, just supporting the show on Patreon, allowing me to literally just spend my entire day going through and making videos, doing live streams. It's fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Now, I don't know if y'all have actually heard this. So y'all know Underdog Fantasy, the place that we've been talking about going through and doing the $1 million draft on. What's really weird about Underdog Fantasy is not only are those players that are drafting in the public leagues not as sharp as the people that are in these private drafts, and I think that you can win money straight up over them, but at the same time, what's really weird is when you use promo code FLOCK when you first create your account and make a $10 deposit, they add $25 to that account. It's a $25 buy-in for the $1 million league. Keep in mind, $1 million on top, and that's what we're kind of simulating here. So it's really weird that they kind of give you a free ticket for it when you use promo code FLOCK. If not, if you don't want to enter into that contest, you can go through and you can do whatever you want with that $25 that they're handing to you. And at the same time, what's really, really weird about that glitch is, for whatever reason, it also gets you our 2021 draft guide and it gets you our 2021 rankings and tiers. Now, don't ask me why they are doing that, because I think it's just the craziest thing ever. But if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, you help support this channel. You get our draft guide, you get our tiers, you get our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, and you get $25 added to your account. So you're getting paid $25 to go out there and do fantasy football drafts. And on top of all this, you are going to be getting our draft guides, hundreds and hundreds of pages of information. And now we're going to take a Kenny Golladay here. Let's go back and let's kind of revisit what we were talking about with the Josh Jacobs. So when we accomplish a Kenny Golladay selection in the middle of the 6th, what we are saying here is we are saying this is another way that we can add a unique element to this roster. And that if we remember all the teams that were drafted a few months ago before the Kenny Golladay injury, Golladay was not making it past a Mike Williams. He was not making it past a Laviska Shenault and Odell Beckham Jr. So this is another falling player that if you would have looked, no teams were drafted like this. No teams at all just a month ago. So I think we have done a nice job of building a unique team. Yes, we would have possibly considered mixing up some exposure with a Josh Jacobs versus a Darrell Henderson, but a Darrell Henderson, let me know what y'all think about this. But I think if you're playing in the Best Ball Mania, a lot of those teams that got Darrell Henderson in the 10th, if Henderson's going to come out and if he is going to be a league winning running back, you're pretty much just going to be dead against those teams that got Darrell Henderson in the 10th, 11th round anyway. So I think Henderson in the 5th, I'm not going to be that excited to draft. Now, we do have a run on receivers here. We have Boyd, Deebo Samuel, Juju Smith-Schuster, which of course we love to see because we go through and we revisit what we have done so far in this draft. So we've already taken Metcalf, Allen Robinson, Brandon Ayuk, and Kenny Golladay. So when we have 4 receivers here, honestly, I am a pretty big fan of going through and allowing other guys to just kind of soak up this wide receiver value. Now, if we get a running back falling to us in the 7th, I actually will say that in a draft that I did earlier today on Underdog, and this was in the Best Ball Mania, keep this in mind, but a draft that we did in the Best Ball Mania, I was drafting, I think at the 7th selection, and literally I almost had Myles Gaskin fall to me right here at the 806. Myles Gaskin, who has an ADP of where before the week 1 preseason, yes, I was screaming that I thought Myles Gaskin was an extremely overrated running back, which I think people are starting to realize. But he was going before Kareem Hunt. He was going before Javonte Williams. And he almost fell to us in the middle of the 8th round. And while I've hated Myles Gaskin all offseason, while I've been screaming to sell him all offseason, if he's falling to the 8th round, you better believe I'm going out there and I'm drafting Myles Gaskin. Tyler says, $50 draft tonight. We're going to get at least a $50 or at least $100 draft tonight. We're going to get one of the high stakes drafts going. I promise you that, guys. Okay, so Mecole Hardman at the 702. Mecole Hardman also, this is a lot earlier than where you would expect Mecole Hardman to go in most drafts. Mecole Hardman usually going at the 7-8 turn, not the 6-7 turn. But I'm kind of fine with receivers going. So if we pull up our draft board right now, 2 running backs that I've been screaming I think are overrated are both falling in a Mike Davis and a Myles Gaskin. We may potentially be forced to draft one of these guys. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so YouTube Slayer's on the clock. He went with Josh Allen and Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, then 3 receivers. So Thomas has Clyde Edwards-Helaire as his only running back. Now Sutton goes off. So I'm a massive fan of a Chase Edmonds, literally over a Mike Davis or a Myles Gaskin. Y'all know that I'm willing to bet on a Chase Edmonds who's going to be in a better offense. Honestly, probably a better running back talent at the same time. But if we're talking about building a unique roster here, how many times are you actually going to have a Mike Davis or a Myles Gaskin falling to you in the middle of the 7th round? So Thomas goes with the Chase Edmonds. So like I was saying, when we're talking about building a unique roster, there are a couple different things that we can do here. It would be very nice to go through and get the stack with the Russell Wilson and the DK Metcalf. But if we're trying to build a team that has not been entered into the contest and could reasonably see a lot of points if things broke right, while I don't necessarily like him, I think if he falls to the 706, we are going to be taking a Mike Davis here. So let's go through. Let me show off this draft so far, where we went with a Kelsey, a DK Metcalf, Allen Robinson, Brandon Ayuk, Kenny Golladay, really as the core of our team. And then at running back, we just got some projected touches here with a Josh Jacobs and a Mike Davis. Now, Mike Davis, a running back that I'm really wanting to avoid in a contest like this. But the main reason I'm avoiding Mike Davis, and you all know I've been screaming to avoid Mike Davis for I don't know how long now, is he's going at the 5-6 turn. So if he's going to fall here where he goes past the running backs that we prefer, I mean, obviously I want a Javonte Williams, I want a Kareem Hunt over Mike Davis. If he falls to this point at the 706, when we know most teams in this tournament ended up having to draft him in the 5th round, I think at that point we do just kind of take the value knowing that very few teams are going to have this combination of players that we've been able to collect so far. Now, Myles Gaskin does go at the 708. 2 players that have definitely been falling in ADP, even in those public leagues, not just in this league. Thomas says, oh no, now I have 2 running backs before round 10. Yeah, I know Thomas, usually guys, Thomas likes to get that like bona fide stud running back and then just hammer in the wide receiver position. It's called hero running back. And honestly, I think it's a very good strategy dependent on how your league drafts around you. And Thomas has been crushing everybody in these drafts doing so. But this one's a little bit different. You've seen drafters go in a couple different spots. Gavin says, YouTube Slayer's team is so good. Okay, let's go through and let's check out YouTube Slayer's team real quick. Okay, so if we scroll up, he's drafting here at the 104. He went Kamara, Najee Harris, McLaurin, Jamar Chase, Josh Allen, Deebo Samuel. Honestly, I don't even think that's that good, to be completely honest. I think it's a very middle-of-the-road team. Okay, So let's switch this back. We have a Will Fuller. Will Fuller, also one of my most drafted receivers in this kind of contest. And if y'all have not gone down there, and if you have not dropped a like on the video yet, my dudes, what are you doing? Go down there, drop a like on the video. Nothing helps us out more. Nobody is live streaming real money fantasy football drafts every single day. Let me go pull up my own phone because I'm a little bit of a hypocrite right now. If I'm telling you to drop a like on the live stream and I have not dropped a like myself. So let me go through, drop that like, and we have a dislike out here. We have a hater. I welcome you, every hater that we get. Lank Dog with a massive donation, $30 for 30,000 subscribers. Buddy, good job. Thank you so much, my man. That makes my night. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I truly appreciate all the support. I hope you hop in a draft with us tonight, my man. I know you hop in drafts with us almost every night. Okay, so Jack says, are you going to manage all these leagues throughout the season? Guys, like I said, what we really like about Underdog Fantasy is the fact that we are going to be drafting these teams and we will never see these teams ever again because you do not submit your starting lineup. It automatically gets submitted at the end of every week for you. And on top of that, you're not doing waivers. So that's why so much strategy goes into it. And at the same time, you can get in these drafts and it doesn't take anything away from the leagues that you're going to be playing in with your friends. So now that we're on the clock, okay, so let me talk through my thought process here. And if this was a regular league, I'm never considering this in a million years, but I'm going to do it here. We're going to take, this could be a really bad pick. We're going to take Michael Thomas at the 807. Now, hear me out. Michael Thomas is a player that I think you simply cannot draft in a regular format. If you were drafting Michael Thomas just in a regular standard 12-team league, then Michael Thomas is a clear stay away here for me at the 807. But if we're treating this as a Best Ball Mania league where we have already discussed, we've laid it out where there are 3 playoff weeks. The first playoff week, you actually have to be in the top 2 out of 18 in your pool. Then the second playoff week, you have to be in the top 1 out of 18 in your pool. And then if you advance past those 2 weeks, there are 160 teams in one pool and you have to get first to have the overall $1 million coming your way. So if we are trying to make a unique build in a format like this, a Michael Thomas is going to be massive. If we are going to consider that this is a receiver that most people were taking in the 3rd round when other teams were drafted earlier this offseason. So all those teams that drafted Michael Thomas in the 3rd round, they're most likely all dusted. They have no chance to win the $1 million because they were drafting way too early. Well, now if we're getting Michael Thomas in the 8th, if Michael Thomas does produce at an elite level during those playoff stretches, very few teams are going to have Michael Thomas. So I think it's a very smart play in a tournament structure, given the fact that you have a player with an elite ceiling combined with the fact that not many teams in the contest are going to have Thomas. So he should be a lower ownership. Yeah, so I really like Michael Thomas in only this specific format. So I need to put that disclaimer out here. Do not be drafting Michael Thomas at the 807 in a 12-man league. Now, Jack Wallace coming out says, congrats on 30,000. My man, thank you, and hope all is going well in your life. And I'll try to get a Cleveland Browns player snuck in here for you. I'll try to get a Cleveland guy snuck in. Okay, so after we go with the Michael Thomas, we do have some running backs going off the board. I'm simply not considering Aaron Rodgers at the 808. Now, Darnell Mooney, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. Now, it does look like great value when Thomas actually ends up getting Aaron Rodgers at the 808. Because here he is stacking with Devontae Adams, who he took in the 1st. And obviously, Aaron Rodgers was the best player available according to ADP. So when you have a stack just fall in your lap like that, obviously that is fantastic. Okay, so now let me switch this back over. And guys, we're going to be getting a lot of drafts going tonight. I promise you that. Just go down there, drop a like on this stream. We'll be getting drafts going tonight. Do not worry about that whatsoever. Okay, so Hollywood Brown goes to the 904. Trey Lance goes to the 905. So we do lose the stack potential that we would have had with the Trey Lance. Now, since we have a Travis Kelce, I'm really not going to be looking to draft a tight end here, even if Dallas Goedert's the quote-unquote value. Instead, I'm actually going to be taking a Zach Moss. And Zach Moss actually makes my list of my highest owned players in underdog drafts, at least my highest owned running backs. And that this is a guy that, yes, I hate the talent profile. Anybody knew that I hated the talent profile coming out of Utah in last year's NFL draft. I don't like the talent profile with Devin Singletary either, but we can't ignore the fact that these are now running backs that are attached to a top 5 NFL offense, and you're getting them in the 9th, 13th round of fantasy drafts. there's no way that you don't have either one of Zach Moss or a Devin Singletary exceeding their ADP this year. Now, picking the guy that's going to do it is a little bit of a taller task, but I think that we're going to consistently draft these Buffalo guys after screaming to avoid them last offseason. And trust me, nothing annoys me more than me coming out and screaming to avoid a player one offseason and then the next one being all over them. But the problem is, last year, the Buffalo Bills projected to be significantly worse than they projected to this year. And at the same time, this running back backfield is significantly cheaper. So I think it does make a lot of sense going out there and drafting some of those Buffalo guys. Finn says 30,000 subscribers to 300,000 subscribers. Yes, sir. We'll go through and we'll get my goal for this season. We're getting 100,000 subscribers this year. Book it. Book it, my dudes. Okay, so Melvin Gordon goes to the 9-11. So we're very balanced on this team so far. Like if I pull this up, I'm probably going to let me hide this. Nobody needs to see that. Okay, so if we pull this up, y'all see that we have a balanced team. So I don't necessarily know if we're even wanting to see receivers or running backs go off the board at this point. Because if one of these tight ends fell to us, I would honestly have been fine taking one of the tight ends as well. Cozy Solo with a massive donation coming out says, I just did my draft tonight, and I'm not going to lie. I think I hit with my team. I was the number 8 pick. I got Wilson, Eckler, Mixon, Diggs, Woods, Hawkinson, and Russell Gage. My bench is Trey Lance, Darrell Henderson, Corey Davis, Trey Sermon, Devontae Smith, and Rashad Penny. Okay, so that is massive. Let me go through. Let me read this team a little slower. Okay, so at quarterback, when you have Wilson and Lance, there's nobody higher on Trey Lance than I am this year. So I'll say that I love both quarterbacks, but the problem is in a 12-team redraft league, to roster 2 quarterbacks like that when you have a shallow bench, it's going to be really tough, where I think once we see something somewhat of an elite ceiling from a Trey Lance and that's shown, then we are going to be looking to trade away either a Russell Wilson or a Lance and just roll with one or the other and make sure we're using the other guy, boosting our either running back or receiver core through trade once we get to the year. But before we get into that, let's go back to my own pick here. And let's keep in mind, we're treating this as it's the $1 million draft on Underdog Fantasy. We're trying to create a very unique team that we still think has a lot of potential to score points. So now that Brady goes, so Michael Pittman is a receiver that I have been saying is overrated. But if we're treating this as the best ball format, what we have to understand is that we're trying to create different teams from what other people are going to have. And if we remember all of those teams that were drafting a month ago, Michael Pittman was actually going significantly higher than this. So I think when we see the wide receiver pool drying up, we are just going to be grabbing a Michael Pittman here because we do need to make sure that we're having other receivers that are going to play right away in our lineup, because technically we have 5 receivers, but one of them is going to be Michael Thomas, who mainly we're just taking for his playoff stretch, not necessarily anything before that. And we still have to get to the playoffs to win that $1 million. So I think we're going to take Michael Pittman there for a nice floor and ceiling combination at the receiver position once we see that the receiver position is drying up. And if we're taking him after Henry Ruggs, Marvin Jones, Russell Gage, Rondell Moore, Devontae Parker, I'm going to be fine with it. I definitely prefer having Devontae Parker though. Okay, so let's go back to Cozy Solo's team. So Eckler, Mixon at running back, and then down there on the bench having Darrell Henderson and Trey Sermon. That's a running back room with a ton of upside. Then receiver, you have Diggs, Robert Woods, Corey Davis, Devontae Smith. So yeah, receiver is a little weaker, but if you're only starting 2 receivers in one flex spot, then receiver's not going to be as valuable. So yeah, I really do like that team. I really do. Okay, so now after we go with the Pittman, we do see some other players start to go off the board with the Jalen Hurts and Noah Fant or Robert Tonyan. So at this point, we probably are hoping that teams start to reach a little bit on the receiver position. And here we see Thomas go quarterback in rounds 8, 9, and 10. Even if you think that's great value, you simply cannot invest that much into the quarterback position. It does not matter what the format is unless it's super flex or 2 QB. At that point, yes, go hog wild on those quarterbacks, soak them up. But no, in a 1 quarterback, even in a best ball league, I think once you take a Rodgers and once you take a Lance, you can't draft a 3rd quarterback, to be honest. So I am adamantly against this 3 quarterback strategy. If we're going to draft 3 quarterbacks, we're going to do so at the end of the draft. Okay, so Alex coming out with a donation says 1 quarterback, 2 receivers, 1 running back, a tight end, 2 flex, 10-team redraft format. Should I take an elite receiver with my first 2 picks and hold off on a running back till later? What's the ideal strategy? Okay, so if we're looking at this, you can start 4 receivers. At the most, you can only start 3 running backs, but it is a 10-man format. So we know a 10-man format is going to slightly devalue the receiver position. I will say, given the fact that you only have to start 1 running back, it's going to be very easy to punt the running back position. So what I may actually do is I may try to come away with a Travis Kelce in the first round if we can, or if you're picking near the end of the second round, a Darren Waller. I think an elite tight end in a format like that is going to give you a significant edge. And I definitely want to be trying to come away with an elite tight end and a couple top receivers to go along with it. But now we are on the clock. So obviously Stafford, Joe Burrow look like great values at the moment. But the problem is we don't have any stacks. Now, since we're at the 1106 and the other players that we'd be considering are most likely a Latavius Murray or a Kenyon Drake, I probably would go with the Kenyon Drake. The thing is, I don't think we can reach 20 picks past ADP. So even though we don't technically have a stack with a Matthew Stafford, we are going to be taking Stafford here just because I think the raw points are going to give us an edge. Okay, so it's going to scroll past down this. Yeah, so this is why I really don't like going with like a Jalen Hurts here, because you're passing up on all these tight ends that you could potentially have. And even if you desperately want a third quarterback, I mean, Thomas, you could get a third quarterback here with the Matthew Stafford at the 1105. Okay, so now Kenyon Drake goes at the 1107. Like I said, Kenyon Drake would have been the player that we were considering if we had not had the quarterback value sitting there. And also, we have to keep in mind we did not have a quarterback on this build just yet. Okay, Devin Singletary at the 1109. We were not going to be considering Devin Singletary on a team where we already drafted Zach Moss, especially if we're trying to have the highest ceiling possible to win $1 million. Devin Singletary, I really don't think he accomplishes that for us whatsoever. Let me go back to the top of the board real quick, just for anybody just now coming into the live stream so y'all can see it. And if you're just now coming into the live stream, you know what I'm about to say. Go down there, drop that like, help us out. Let's get this live stream over 300 likes. We're going to get a ton of drafts going tonight. Okay, so Rashad Bateman finally goes off the board. Obviously, Bateman's someone that is having to fall considering his injury, going to be out 6 to 8 weeks with groin surgery. And I mean, that is just a killer for a rookie wide receiver because we know that he needs those reps in training camp to kind of get that timing with the Lamar Jackson. And at the same time, this is someone that, I mean, he's going to a very low volume offense to begin with. So if he can't carve himself out a role in the game plan, I don't necessarily know how excited we can get about a Rashad Bateman. I'll say at the 11-11, probably pretty good value just because it's so dang late. Okay, Finn coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says, do you think T. Higgins will shine over Jamar Chase? I've been on the train, and I hate saying this, but I've been on the train literally for the past, literally since the NFL draft. You can ask anybody in this live chat right now. When people were taking Jamar Chase an entire round ahead of T. Higgins, I've been screaming that T. Higgins is the number 1 receiver in Cincinnati. So yes, I've been on the train saying that T. Higgins is the number 1 guy that you want there. Okay, so now let's switch this back around. So the 1207. So with this build, we do already have a Travis Kelce, but I honestly think that we would consider a Gesicki if he falls. I would be surprised if he makes it to the 1207 though. And then at running back, we have 3 guys. I think with this build, when we wait so long in running back, I am going to be wanting to come away with 5 running backs total. And at receiver, we have 6 receivers. I think we have a very balanced structure where I'm willing to go through and I'm willing to talk about best players available because, I mean, I don't necessarily need to be pitch and hold to go into one direction right now. I think we can do a lot of different things. Jayan says, Bateman over Devin Duvernay is shameful. My man, if Devin Duvernay outscores Rashad Bateman this year on a points per game basis, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Lank Dog says, I'll be painting the man cave and listening in. Okay, my man, have fun painting the man cave. Hopefully one day I have a house that I can be doing that as well. Okay, so Matt Ryan at the 1205. Okay, so I think we easily, Jamal Williams was honestly my preferred pick here because when we get a Jamal, we're going to have 4 running backs that we now know are going to have roles in their respective offenses and they can randomly slide into our starting lineup, all guys on different bye weeks. And at the same time, we can see if you had an injury to a DeAndre Swift, possibly you actually have a player like Jamal Williams going through and stepping into a 3-down role. He played every single snap with Jared Goff this past week. So that's significant because it tells us that if anything were to occur to DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams is going to be a massive winner in that situation, and he is going to be a bell cow running back. So yeah, we're going to get Jamal there. Okay, so Senior Skittle says, how is my team, Mason? Okay, so let's go through. Let's try to find his team. Okay, Senior Skittles at the 112. 112. Let's go through and let's check out the 112. The 112 is a little interesting in that while you can't necessarily let value fall to you, at the same time, you can try to dictate the draft board. So here you just go with the balanced approach of going with an Austin Eckler and a DeAndre Hopkins at the 1-2 turn. Then you continue that trend. The next 3 rounds, you're literally just going straight up balance right here, where you go Eckler, Hopkins, Carson, Lockett, Odell, Javonte. And then you get Russell Wilson to stack with a Tyler Lockett. Russell Wilson was a massive value here. Almost considered him over a Mike Davis. Then Will Fuller, Logan Thomas, James Conner, Emmanuel Sanders, Bryan Edwards. I like it. Actually, I really, there's nothing I can say bad about that team because you took players at good ADPs. You have a correct construction so far. I think I would probably go with 3 tight ends with a construction like that where you wait to get Logan Thomas as your first guy. Okay. So now Marquez Callaway at the 12-12. Marquez Callaway, definitely a riser. I mean, this is someone that I don't want to overreact to the preseason, but he looked very good on that first drive with the first team offense. Now Gerald Everett at the 13-01. Now let's pull up the draft board real quick. So Beasley is either just going to be a massive value in drafts or he's going to be completely useless. And there's nothing in between. And it's kind of funny to say that Beasley fits that prototype because he's a slot receiver that's not going to have a very high average depth of target. But at the same time, I think he really does, because if he plays just simply playing that many snaps in a Josh Allen-led offense, if you truly believe Allen is a value pick at his ADP, you have to like Beasley there. But obviously, we don't know how many games he plays this year. Okay, so also, is this screen... I need to check something out. Is our entire screen slid to the... I just need to get this on my phone. I need to look at... I think we're fine, actually. Okay, that scared me a little bit. Okay, so... David Johnson, a massive loser for week 1. I mean, literally, it looked like Philip Lindsay, who just came to the team, is going to be the starter. Okay, I see a lot of people down there asking about questions in terms of player evaluation. Guys, if you have yet to hear, for whatever reason, the number one way you can get my rankings and tiers is going to be by depositing $10 on Underdog Fantasy, which is where we are drafting right now. So you can get some real money fantasy football drafts with us. When you deposit $10, use promo code FLOCK. You actually get $25 added to your account. You get my 2021 rankings and tiers, my 2021 draft guide, hundreds of pages of information, all for playing $10 in fantasy football leagues. Literally, it helps the channel out so much, and it's a no-brainer. Okay, so Rob Gronkowski is the 1307. Okay, Dak says, I want to join a draft, and the link that you post every few minutes is for the lobby. Yes, sir. So the link for the lobby is going to be for people to get signed up with their account, because about Underdog, since you're getting our draft guide, our rankings, and that $25 credit added onto your account, they do have to verify that you're a real person. So you have to go through, and I believe you have to put down your name, your address, and they go, is this person real? And it takes about 2 to 3 minutes. So because of that, it is going to... Actually, I heard some people say it's instant for them. For me, it took like 4 or 5 minutes. So I'm just telling everybody it takes a couple of minutes just in case. Because if you try to sign up when I send out the link to the private drafts that we are going to be doing tonight, literally it gets filled like that. Like if you do not press it in 0.01 seconds, you have a 0% chance to get in the league. Okay, so TX416 says, why are you always dressed up for mocks? Because I take this more serious than anybody else does. That's why, my man. That's the best answer I can give you. Clay says, the Texans running back room is beautiful for fantasy purposes. I don't know about that, my man. The worst team in football, literally, I think they have a 3.5 team win total. Like, they're supposed to be the worst team in football, and it's not even close. And it's going to be a 3-man committee. It's a hard sell to tell me that that's a beautiful situation for fantasy. Okay, so Mike says it's good for the stack. Got to get Burrow. Okay, let me go through. Did you get a stack with Burrow here? There's no way you got a stack with Burrow at the 11-10, considering that, yeah, Chase and Higgins always go here. I mean, maybe you ended up getting did you get a Tyler Boyd? No, yeah, you had no stack. You did get Dak. So I guess Dak and Burrow is going to be a very high ceiling combination, but you do only have to, I mean, you're really only going to be drafting 2 quarterbacks when you do that. Okay, so Rashad Penny, Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard at the 1404. I just can't believe I almost overlooked that. Girthquake, my man, Noah, you could have gotten Chuba Hubbard later. You could have gotten Hubbard later. I promise you that, my man. Okay, so let's pull this up. What point would we consider David Johnson? I've never seen David Johnson fall this far. I also don't think I've ever drafted David Johnson. Am I just used to having my monkey brain seeing David Johnson go off in the 12th round and I'm not adjusting enough to the week 1 of the preseason? Shepard is also, we kind of do need a receiver. We're going to go David Johnson and we'll be done at running back. He doesn't have the same buy as any of our other guys. We're going to go with the David Johnson. I don't like it at all. This is our first time drafting him, but we're getting him 21 picks behind his ADP. So we're going to go with the David Johnson. I mean, if we're trying to build a unique team here, how many teams have David Johnson in the 14th round? Very, very few. And you have possibly the starting running back for Houston going right behind him. Noah says, I got burned earlier today on that, so I took him early this time. Oh, okay, my man. I know Hubbard did look really good in his limited action, and I think Hubbard is a very similar running back to a Tony Pollard, where if you see Ezekiel Elliott go down, then all of a sudden Tony Pollard vaults up to being a top 15 running back in fantasy. Hubbard has that same exact upside. People forget that in 2019 at Oklahoma State, this was possibly a top 2 running back in the country. I mean, he was a dominant running back. Okay. So Marquez Valdez-Scantling at the 14-10. I think that I wouldn't consider MVS there. I would probably consider going and getting like a Sterling Shepard over MVS. Malcolm Brown at the 14-11. Okay, so this is like the all preseason team right here. You got Lindsey and Malcolm Brown going in the 14th round. And we are about to pass 250 likes in the live stream. Thank you, everybody going down there and dropping that like. Let's switch over, see best players available. Okay, see, this is what I almost consider. I almost considered grabbing a Sterling Shepard or a Paris Campbell in the last round. Now, I know that we say this out loud. There's a 0% chance they're going to fall back to us. Especially, I mean, these teams right here only have 4 and 5 receivers, so they definitely need to grab receivers in a best ball format like this. But I almost went with these receivers over a David Johnson. I'm kind of happy that we didn't now. Because if we go over to our receiver position, we do have Metcalf, Allen Robinson, Brandon Ayuk, Kenny Golladay, Michael Thomas, Michael Pittman, Cole Beasley. So we are, I don't want to say loaded at receiver, but we have enough guys to get by. We have enough guys to get by at receiver. Our main edge that we're getting is we're just getting an extra roster spot since we drafted a player like a Travis Kelce. Okay. Now, Thomas on the board. KJ Hamler, our guy, goes at the 1503. Love seeing KJ Hamler go off at the 1503. Ramondre Stevenson, another must-draft sleeper running back of ours, goes at the 1505. Now, we're going to get Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell, I think, actually is going to be falling. But the thing is, we have to draft a receiver. We have to get a receiver here. And I'm not going to be taking Crowder or Dimey Brown over Paris Campbell. So we're just going to get the guy that we believe to be more talented. I'm definitely concerned based on what we saw in week 1 in the preseason with his usage. But I think we're going to get Campbell. And actually, let me show the top of the draft board as well for anybody who's just now coming out. Okay, so here's the top. We drafted from the 106, and we wanted to build a very unique team. We're trying to imitate, this is going to be the $1 million contest for Best Ball Mania and Underdog Fantasy. Like I said, you want a free shot into the $1 million contest. Make sure you use promo code FLOCK. Make a $10 deposit. They'll add $25 onto your account. It's a $25 buy-in into the $1 million contest. And to be completely honest, that's literally just all I do all day is I have my dual monitor system. On one monitor, I just have a full draft board up and I'm just going through working on one. And then every time I get a little buzz on my computer, it says top right, you're on the clock. And I'm very good now. If y'all can tell that I can live stream, I can read the chat, I can do everything. And as soon as we're on the clock, I can drop it and I can figure out our pick in 15 seconds. So even with it being a 30-second clock, when I've done like 100 of these drafts, it's really easy for me to go through and just transition and get on the clock, get our pick in as soon as we can. Okay, so now let me go. Anthony Fersker goes at the 1508. Byron Pringle at the 1509. Pringle does look like he is the bona fide wide receiver 3 in Kansas City. Uncle Trey here took the combination of both quarterbacks that we are looking to avoid every single draft. He goes with a Baker Mayfield and a Ryan Fitzpatrick. Interesting. Okay, so let me go through it. Let me talk about, I don't want to just give away my money. I do want to win this league, so I'm not going to treat this at the very end of the draft like it would be a best ball mania, but let me talk about the strategy that I would use if we were treating this as it was $1 million league, which those are the ones I'm drafting all day. We would here only take a Deshaun Watson, and we would essentially be making a bet. Well, yeah, there's a decent chance Deshaun Watson doesn't play this year. If he doesn't play, we lose the league. But if he would play and we were able to only roster 2 quarterbacks and we got one of those guys with top 5 upside in this range of the draft, very few teams would actually be able to come back and match us during the tournament weeks. If we had 9 receivers, we had a Travis Kelce, we had a Deshaun Watson, and we had a running back room that we weren't going to get crushed in. So yeah, I think that it would be intriguing for us to go out there and do that. But instead, since this is a different league, we possibly want to take 2 quarterbacks here and then get a tight end in the last round, because I'm completely fine just punting the second tight end spot when you get a Travis Kelce. When you take a Kelce, essentially if Kelce gets hurt, we're losing the league regardless. I don't really care if something happens if Kelce gets hurt. Okay. So Blake Jarwin at the 1603. Let's go through. Let's pull up what we're going to be looking at. So I think when we have drafted 5 running backs and 8 receivers on a build where I think we need to be getting 3 quarterbacks, considering our first guys, Matthew Stafford, and we wait until the 16th round to get our next player, I think we do want to switch our view to only quarterback and tight end. Possibly we go tight end here with a player like a Hunter Henry. It's going to mainly depend. And who knows? If Darnold goes, it's going to depend on what quarterback we get. Okay, so we get a Ben Roethlisberger. We are going to get someone playing all 16 weeks. So yeah, we're going to get Ben Roethlisberger coming in. Let's switch this back. Let's go to a no cam view so y'all can see the bottom of the draft board. So if we have a full-time starting quarterback falling back to us, we'll get him. If not, it's kind of whatever, because there comes to a point where the guys like Taysom Hill, they really can't get drafted if you just do the simple math, unless teams want to be rostering too many quarterbacks. Not Taysom Hill specifically, but other guys that fit that mold and that we don't necessarily know how many starting weeks you're going to be getting from them. Okay, Darrington Evans goes at the 1609 to YouTube Slayer. And then we'll be getting another draft going after this, my dudes. I promise you that. We'll be getting another draft going. Okay, so Quez Watkins at the 1610, Darrington Evans at the 1609. Evans is someone that in those $1 million leagues, I've actually gotten in the 18th round a couple times. And I'll also say, if it's going to be one of those best ball mania drafts, I really like drafting a receiver that's not on many people's boards, because then if they do have that spike week in the final week, you can capitalize on that large field tournament if that player is going to be very rarely owned. Now, Mac Jones at the 1611. Okay, Jordan says, which rookie wide receiver increases their value most compared to the current startup ADP in Dynasty? If we're going to be talking about that going into next season, I honestly want to be making a bet on Elijah Moore. That's a player that I loved coming into the NFL draft. He has gotten a lot of hype as of late, but if we go through, if we also look at the contract situation that you have in New York, we can almost guarantee that you're actually going to have Jamison Crowder out of this offense next year, Zach Wilson going into year 2, and all of a sudden, possibly you could be getting slot snaps for Elijah Moore. I really do like the idea of going through and just making a bet that Elijah Moore is going to increase in ADP. Okay, so maybe we're not going to be going with the quarterback again. Maybe we're going to be waiting a little bit longer on QB now that we have these guys going off. As we do have a Stafford, we have a Ben Roethlisberger. We know that we're expecting a baseline level of production from both player. And we need another tight end. So we possibly just completely punt QB here and get a Drew Lock in the last round. Okay, let's see. Donovan Peoples-Jones, Josh Palmer. Because Hunter Henry is also someone that has fallen a ton. I mean, in those best ball mania drafts, I've taken Henry a bit because, yes, he has a very, very, very low floor, but we're looking for a high ceiling. Because Thomas is on. Thomas has 3 quarterbacks, so he can't get a third. He goes Hunter Henry. Here, I think we do go with the Deshaun Watson. Actually, the problem is, if this is a Best Ball Mania draft, I literally wouldn't have even drafted Ben Roethlisberger. I would have only drafted Matthew Stafford and Deshaun Watson going for the ultimate ceiling, but this is only a 12-man league. So we have to change our mindset slightly. Instead, we're going to go with the Zach Ertz. And we're going to be fine with whatever quarterback falls to us between Watson, Hill, Winston, Newton, Drew Lock. We're going to be fine with it. I think if we look back, if we try to recognize a mistake that we most likely made in this draft, let me pause it here for a second. That way people can look at the top of the board and then go back down. So like I said, if this was a Best Ball Mania draft, what I would have actually done is I would have just drafted Deshaun Watson here at the 1607, essentially saying, hell, if any of y'all are going to be able to only go through with one quarterback into Deshaun Watson, we get to the playoff weeks and Watson's playing, we are going to have like one of the only teams with that build. So good luck catching up on us. We are going to be crushing y'all. Whereas in a regular league, simply, it doesn't matter because it's not the tournament style. So of course we want to be chasing upside, but since we don't have access to the waiver wire, a floor with our quarterback is going to be a little more important. Where I will say, guys, if y'all are playing in a regular league where you draft your team with your friends and you go through and you have the waiver wire, you have start-sit decisions. I love Deshaun Watson. I would draft Deshaun Watson in a league where you had access to the waiver wire over all of these quarterbacks in these rounds, over Daniel Jones, over Ryan Fitzmagic, over Baker Mayfield, over Tua Tagovailoa, over Kirk Cousins, over Matt Ryan. I would literally draft him up here like after the Joe Burrow. Just because in a format like that, it's going to be so simple. We know that not every quarterback is going to get drafted at the same time. We'll have an understanding of what Deshaun Watson is by the time we get to the year. So worst case scenario, you do go out there and stream. Whereas best case scenario, you have a league winning player. But it's a little bit different here. It's a little bit different since you don't have the waiver wire. I mean, you could just have a dead roster spot. You could be going up with 17 players against everybody else having 18. And that's going to be a tough sell. So in a format like this, Watson is a little less valuable. Okay, so now let's switch this back over. I see a lot of people going $5, $50, $100 drafts next. I know we're going to get another draft next, guys. Don't be spamming it in the chat with what y'all want to see because I promise you I'm just going to send out a poll and whatever wins the poll we're doing. Okay, so I guess now we go with the Watson. If he falls to us, we're going to go with the Watson. If not, we're going to go with the Taysom Hill. Just kind of saying at this point, when we have the baseline level of production with the Matthew Stafford and the Ben Roethlisberger, it's kind of whatever. So I definitely prefer Deshaun Watson in the tournament format, but we'll see. Okay, so Deeznators does only have two quarterbacks. He goes with a Tyrod Taylor. So he puts the stamp down that he is saying that nobody is going to see Deshaun Watson play this upcoming year. Nobody's going to trade a player like a Jalen Hurts to the Houston Texans. So we're just going to go out. We are going to get Deshaun Watson. Let me go back to the draft board. I will show the rest of the draft. Noam says, Mason, if Watson gets traded, wouldn't he still be considered a drop because he won't play much? If Watson is eligible to play by the NFL and he gets traded, he would literally be playing the week he gets traded. They would not go pause him, put him on the bench, and construct a game plan around him and then start him 4 weeks later. They would go, Watson, you are better than Drew Lock. You are better than Jalen Hurts. You are better than whoever we traded for you. You can go through, you can do this same exact game plan that we have molded for the other quarterback. You can do it significantly better, and we'll kind of transition our offense to your skill set later on in the season. If Watson got traded to Philadelphia tomorrow and it wasn't like Watson was suspended for the first 8 games, then all of a sudden Deshaun Watson would be the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's not like they're going, okay, Joe Flacco, get in there, buddy. You got you for 4 weeks. You know the game plan. No, they would tell Watson, hey, you don't need to know the game plan. Let's just go and let's just play backyard football because you're going to be better than Joe Flacco, even if he has the plays on his arm. Okay, so now let's go back to the top of the draft. Let me switch it to the full face cam, and I'm going to be asking y'all right now in the live chat if y'all want to get a $5, if y'all want to get a $50 or a $100 draft going. I'm actually going to do it as 2 options. I'm going to do a $5 option on the top, and then the second poll is going to be a 50 or 100. If the 50 or 100, so the quote-unquote high stakes wins, then we'll go through, then we'll create a second one asking which one in particular you want. But essentially, let's ask low stakes or high stakes. And we'll get this sorted out. I'll send this in the live chat for anybody who's used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, made that $10 deposit, got $25 added on to their account, and at the same time, got our draft guide, got our rankings, and helped the channel more than you would ever believe. Okay, Which draft? Low stakes or high stakes? Y'all go through and vote on that. Basher says, damn it, all my teams have the same buy. Let me go through. Let me look at your team, my man. I feel your pain. I will say that. Okay, so I can't even see it. Okay, Basher 101. That's the name. Basher 101. His tight ends: Jared Cook, Blake Jarwin, Dawson Knox, all in week 7 bye. That is tough. That is tough. Okay, so let me end this poll real quick. See what we ended with. We're 100% going to get another low stakes and another high stakes drafted going tonight, guys. It's just mainly going to be what we do first. So if the low stakes wins, we'll get a $5 draft going right now. We'll get a $50 draft going later tonight. Okay, so it has the low stakes as the winner with over 100 votes. So yeah, let me get a $5 draft set up, and then we'll be doing a $50 or $100 draft after this, depending on what y'all want. Okay, so I'm going to be sending this out in the live chat. I'm going to say $5 draft here. Do not join one in the lobby, because the lobby is going to have some people that are not subscribers to the channel, and I want these drafts to be exclusively filled with people that come out to the live streams, hang out in the live chat with us. A. Kissinger says, hey, Mason, how do I verify my identity on Underdog? I'm 18 and in New York. I've heard that Underdog, literally, if you shoot them a message to their customer support, they get back to you like that. I've heard it's like the easiest process in the world, my man. Okay, so let me send this out right now. Yeah, if you have a problem with Underdog, guys, literally, I've heard from like 3 different people who have had problems with Underdog, and they've all told me that they messaged support and it got fixed like that. They got back to them right away. So if they aren't verifying your identity right away, their little machine, all you have to do is send them a customer support ticket and go, hey, I try to use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, and then say, it's not verifying my identity. Can you go through and can you do so? And they'll get it sorted out for you. Okay, so I just sent that out right now. Now let me transition over. Y'all are going to see that a $5 draft is going to fill up like instantaneously. Like if you don't press the button within the first 5 seconds of that link getting out there, you have no shot to get in, to be honest. Okay, so this draft is full. Now let's go through it and let's pray that we get the 101. It is only a $5 draft, so I'll rather save my 101 spots later on. Okay, they heard me say that. So instead they gave us the 112 here. Okay, this is going to be fun because the 112, we can go through and we can try to push the draft board. So this could be another spot. Maybe we want to try to create a unique team, just because at the 112, we can kind of be bullies here. We can be bullies. Let's try to push it around, even though I know it's a lot harder for me to do that on a live stream just because people like to go back against me, especially in a $5 draft. But we'll see. We'll see if we can bully the people around on the board. Luke says that was filled in a millisecond. My man, I'd imagine that was filled in a millisecond. Okay, so that's what I said, guys. The $5 drafts are going to be filled literally like that. Noam says, yo, Mason, you should have a limit to how many drafts a person can join. I mean, if we go through right now and look at this, really, there aren't that many people that have been out to drafts before. Let's go through and let's look at the new people in this draft. New person, new person, new person, new person, new person, new person. Senior Skittles, he was in the last one. Mainly he joins through Patreon, though. I think this is one of his first times joining through the YouTube chat. Zachary, he's back. Fallon, he's back. Lank Dog, he's back. Austin Eckler's hairline, I believe this is his first time as well. So literally, there are more new people in here than there are old people. Okay, so I think we're fine with that. Okay, Blake says everyone else had a better ping than me. Most likely, my man, most likely. Okay, Barkley at the 103. Very rarely are you seeing Saquon Barkley go at the 103. I've actually had a couple of those $1 million drafts where Barkley goes in the 2nd round, which is the craziest thing ever. And I swear to God, every time that happens, I'm drafting like the 103, 104, and I'm sitting there just crying my eyes out that we don't have the chance to draft Saquon Barkley at the 112. Can you imagine having a team where you start off at the 112 with Saquon Barkley? That is massive. That is massive. Devontae Adams at the 107. That's the furthest we've seen Devontae Adams fall in one of these drafts in a while. And also, I mean, with a Devontae Adams, this is someone that in one of those $1 million leagues, I've actually kind of been avoiding just because of the format and just because a lot of other people were able to get him in the 2nd round. So I've actually been drafting a Tyreek Hill over him. But in a regular league, you 100% want a Devontae Adams there at the 107. In a regular league, I want a Devontae Adams at the 103, to be honest. Okay, so now that we are on the clock, we get Tyreek Hill, and we are going to go Tyreek. Do we want to try to bully people around, or do we want to go balanced? Let's balance it out. Let's go Tyreek Hill, Jonathan Taylor. Let's go Tyreek Taylor. I'm excited about this start. I don't know if I've ever seen a Tyreek Hill fall to the 112, to be honest. I probably should have drafted Jonathan Taylor over him just so we could say that we drafted Tyreek Hill in the second, because I never see that. Okay, Masked Enigma says, I just got Adams at the 107 in the Puppy 3. That is awesome, my man. The Puppy 3, I would be aggressively drafting Davante Adams just because, I mean, that's a contest that just now started up. So, yeah, if y'all don't know what the Puppy 3 is as well, so Best Ball Mania is one of their contests that they're doing with $1 million on top. The Puppy 3, instead of being a $25 buy-in to the contest, it's only going to be a $5 buy-in. So if you go through, use promo code FLOCK, make a $10 deposit, then with the Puppy 3, you're actually going to have, just say, let's do some quick math. You deposit $10, you get $25 added onto your account when you use promo code FLOCK. You'd have 7 entries into that, so you can do 7 drafts. So if you're going to be making that deposit and just getting into Underdog, I think one of the best things that you can do is go through and draft in the Puppy, to be honest. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and at the same time, you have a chance for some life-changing money. Of course, you have a very small chance of it, but I think a higher chance than the majority of other people who have no idea what they're doing and just randomly clicking buttons. Okay, so let me know what y'all think about a Stephon Diggs, Aaron Jones, Eckler going before Tyreek Hill. Because I think the latest I could have taken Hill in a league like this is at the 109. I think once you have Adams, Kelsey off the board, Tyreek Hill's the clear selection at the 109, in my opinion. Mozetta says started Eckler and Saquon Barkley in the Puppy 3 at the 9 spot. Aaron says the Puppy 3 is goated. Let me know. Mask Enigma says $5 entry. I'll throw a few in. Let me know if y'all are enjoying their contest in the Puppy 3, because I know that they started the Puppy. I don't think they expected it to fill as fast as it did, where they had hundreds of thousands of people signing up for the Puppy. So they filled the Puppy 1, then that filled, and then they had to go through and go, okay, well, I guess we're creating another contest. They filled the Puppy 2, and then that filled as well. So now there's a Puppy 3. I do not think that they plan on having 3 of those. So it's kind of crazy how fast that those are filling. And it's clearly so many people are enjoying playing in those. And it makes sense because you get to do a lot of fantasy drafts. You have a very small buy-in. And at the same time, you have a chance for a ton of money. And what's also great about it is you use promo code FLOCK, make a $10 deposit. You get 25 added to your account. You get our draft guide. You get our rankings. You get our tiers. You get hundreds of pages of information. So definitely make sure you do that. And if y'all are having, I really want to see, guys, is don't send it to me on Discord, because Discord is going to be really hard for me to see it. But tweet at me in either at Build the Dynasty or at the Fantasy Flock Network. If you have any crazy starts in either the Best Ball Mania or the Puppy 3, like those teams that you can win life-changing money at the top, don't send me a screenshot if you're just doing a league with your buddies and it's a private draft. I don't really care too much about that. But tweet at me. If you have like a ridiculous start where you think that you're going to be coming away with a ton of money, tweet at me, because I really want to see it. Monkey Man says, can you explain what a puppy draft is? Go to the link that I'm sending in the live chat and click on it. Then go click the puppy and then hit info, like as if you're just reading it. And then you'll have a much better understanding of it. It's very similar to what we said with Best Ball Mania, where you go through and you play in your 12-man league. If you get top 2 in your 12-man league, then you advance to the next round. And in the next round, if you place in the top 2 out of 18 people, then you advance to the round after that. And in that round, if you get as the number 1 person in the 18-player pool, you advance to the next round. And then the last round with however many people, if you're number 1, I believe the top prize in the puppy is $250,000. I could be wrong. Because I know in Best Ball Mania, the top prize is $1 million. And I've been doing Best Ball Mania. That's the $25 buy-in one. Unless I am wrong, which I possibly could be, I definitely recommend you going through and reading the information on the puppy. But I believe it's just literally Best Ball Mania, but a smaller buy-in. And they also have the big dog. They have a big $250 buy-in, but I am too scared to do any of those. I have not done the big dog yet. Okay, so Robert Woods at the 308, Amari, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson. DeAndre Swift at the 309. We would have taken Swift if he fell to us at the 312. David Montgomery. Okay, Austin Eckler's hairline is one pick between us and us crushing this draft by getting Mahomes. I'm not going to take him just yet because we want to see where else we're going with this team, but we're going to get Mahomes to stack with a Tyreek Hill. I think we also possibly want to be going with a Chris Godwin. Yeah, so we're going to go with Patrick Mahomes and a Chris Godwin. I've been drafting Chris Godwin a ton as of late. Y'all know this is a receiver that I am just all about going through and projecting him to see that volume. And at the same time, I mean, he is younger than Mike Evans. Outproduced Mike Evans last year. So I'm really, really liking Chris Godwin. And our start with this team is going to be Tyreek, Jonathan Taylor, Patrick Mahomes, and Chris Godwin. And also don't tell me, Mason, Mike Evans scored more fantasy points than Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin was hurt. If you look at a per game basis when they were both healthy, Chris Godwin was the wide receiver one there. Casey says he tweeted us his team. Let me go through. Let me pull up that tweet real quick. Also, don't shoot me a DM of your team because I get way too many DMs in terms of going through and sending out draft guides, because that's where I send out all the draft guides is through DMs. Okay, so Casey just sent me his team. Let's look at, okay, so Casey's team, it's going to be hard for me to pull this over to the other screen. I'll just read it out loud. So this is a CMC build where he went through, if this is in the puppy, let's just go through and confirm. He started off CMC, CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, T. Higgins. He got Kareem Hunt as well. 3 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks. I really like this start, man. Did you get any stacks in there with the Lamar Jackson? Yeah, you got Hollywood Brown. I really do like that team. I probably would have stopped at 4 running backs, to be honest, but I think that's a very strong team. So after we take Godwin here at the 401, we do have a little bit of a run on receivers. I know a lot of people probably would have preferred to see us go with Chris Carson. I'm just all in on Chris Godwin at this point. And Chris Godwin was someone that I have a bad history with of whiffing on. I mean, I faded him in 2019 when he had his blow-up season. But I'm not letting that just cloud our judgment on a Godwin. I just think at this point, if you're looking at his career arc and if you're looking at the volume that he projects to see, he's a great pick at the 401. I mean, if you're betting on the Bucs offense, you should be willing to draft Chris Godwin at the 401. Masked Enigma says, I've done 30 drafts and I've never gotten the 102/Dalvin Cook. It sucks. Okay, listen to this. Listen to this. Not today, but yesterday, I was in one of those Best Ball Mania drafts. So you win the entire thing, get $1 million, like I've said. But I was drafting at the 103, and I was sitting there going, what am I going to do? I really want to take Devontae Adams at the 103. But, I mean, here there are some other teams that were able to get Devontae Adams a lot later during the Aaron Rodgers controversy. Can I still take Rodgers at the 103? And while I was going through and mulling over that decision, the 101 team in a $25 buy-in with $1 million on top took Derrick Henry. They took Derrick Henry. So I ended up getting our guy. I ended up going and being able to draft a Dalvin Cook at the 102, which felt so good because it set us up later on to just hammer in wide receivers. So yeah, it was very intriguing. But those public leagues, you'll see people do the dumbest things, the dumbest things. Aaron says, dude, I just got the 102 on Underdog and I got CMC. God, what are people like? If you look at these Underdog drafts that we do on the live stream, they seem very standard. Like if we look at this draft right now and we're trying to find picks that seem out of the ordinary, like really bad picks in this draft. If I'm looking for a really bad pick in this draft, I don't know if I can see a really bad pick in this draft, to be completely honest. I hate taking Stephon Diggs over Tyreek Hill, but that's a small thing. I really don't like taking Kyler Murray when you don't have a DeAndre Hopkins here. I think we would have passed on a Kyler. I really don't like taking a Josh Allen when you don't have any of the Buffalo guys. But outside of that, these flock drafts, I mean, I think they are so close to just being about as accurate as you possibly can find. I mean, you even have a Kyle Pitts going way behind his ADP. In those Best Ball Mania drafts on Underdog, I've seen Kyle Pitts go in the 3rd round. It's some of the craziest things. Okay, Void says, can someone tell? Oh, yeah, everybody's saying Barkley at the 103. Yes, I completely overlooked Barkley at the 103. That is a good qualifier of someone doing something crazy. Barkley at the 103 makes that. Okay, now when we were up, I really wish, actually, no, I don't. I was going to say I wish we had a Lamar falling to us. We'd go Lamar and Mark Andrews, but the problem is when we have Mahomes, we're not looking to draft QB anytime soon. We can honestly even get rid of the quarterback position here. None of them were at the top of ADP regardless. So here I think that when we have 2 receivers, and we need to start 3, and this is going to be a best ball format, we're probably going to want to go through, and we're probably going to want to draft 2 more with these next 2 picks. So I think we go with an Odell Beckham Jr. and Robbie Anderson. I know a lot of people are going to be screaming at Jerry Jeudy here, and I'll say in a vacuum, Jerry Jeudy's a much better receiver than a Robbie Anderson. But in terms of fantasy production this upcoming season, I can't get behind it. Actually, I lied to you. The thing is, I've drafted so much Kareem Hunt, I don't really care. We're going to continue to draft them. We're going to get Odell here because Odell does have a ton of spike week potential. We know that this is a league where those random blow up weeks matter a lot. So we're going to get Odell. And then we're just going to continue to draft one of my favorite running backs this year. We're going to draft a Kareem Hunt. We're getting him as a running back too. I've said this time and time again with Kareem Hunt, but if you look at the past 2 seasons, he was a low-end running back 2, and right now he's being drafted as the running back 26 on Underdog. He's being drafted as the running back 26, and he's been a low-end running back 2 the past 2 years. And we can all agree that if Nick Chubb goes down, Kareem Hunt at the minimum, if Nick Chubb tore his ACL tomorrow, Kareem Hunt would be a 2nd-round pick at the minimum. I would probably be taking him in the 1st. So yeah, I think that this is literally just a floor. This is a player that you're taking at his floor. We're going to continue to draft as much Kareem Hunt as we possibly can. And we just passed 300 likes on the live stream. Thank you, everybody, going down there and dropping that like. If you have yet to subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you want to get into our drafts with us in the future, make sure you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. You get $25 added onto your account when you make a $10 deposit with promo code FLOCK. You get my 2021 draft guide, my 2021 rankings, my 2021 tiers, hundreds of pages of information, and it helps out the channel a ton. So please make sure you go out there and do that. Okay, so now Dak at the 606, Deebo Samuel at the 607. Now let's move this drop board to the right. So I honestly, I'm not a massive fan of just going through and having a balanced start at the end. While it's probably the best thing to do, to be honest. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. It's probably the best thing to just go through and have this very balanced start where we have Tyreek, Godwin, Odell. We have our running backs in Jonathan Taylor, Kareem Hunt. We have Patrick Mahomes. But with all of this, at the same time, I think we really haven't played the board that much. Like, we haven't kind of dictated what other people are doing, which I think is one of the small advantages that you get at having one of those picks on the turn. And we have failed to really make a play there. I don't know if we've really had an opportunity to be completely honest. So let me know what y'all are thinking. Let me know if I could have done anything differently. Maybe in the 1st, 2nd round, we decided to double up on receiver, but I think we're kind of fine with what we've done. Jayan says, just got Kittle at the 311. Like what? That is ridiculous. And that's kind of what I'm saying, that these underdog drafts, those public leagues are Kittle at the 311, and you only have to draft one more tight end. This is why all day long, I'm just drafting. I'm probably going to, I said I was going to end up with 250 teams by the time we got to the year, but I'm probably going to end up with more than that. I'm probably going to end up with about 300. So AB, LaVisca, Cortland Sutton, you're going to see the receivers dry up a lot of the times in the 7th, 8th round. I mean, receivers just go a lot earlier here since you have to start 3 of them. What does suck about being at the end is we have so long between our picks. Mike Davis continuing to fall. I love seeing it. It's a thing of beauty. I mean, people realizing that the Mike Davis projected volume isn't as safe as it seems. I love seeing it. We have a lot of players ranked above Mike Davis that are currently below him in ADP. Now I'll say, if Mike Davis falls to us at the 712, we're taking Mike Davis. I'll definitely say that. But him falling behind Javonte Williams, Kareem Hunt, Trey Sermon, Chase Edmonds, I think that's 100% the way it should be. Monkey Man says, how many leagues do you expect to win? So if we play in about 300 leagues, so last year I actually had a win rate that exceeded 30%, which is completely unsustainable. If you do some simple math, if you understand a baseline level expectation is for you to win about 8.3% of your leagues. So winning 30% of your leagues is completely ludicrous, and I'm not expecting to do that this year. I think we had a lot of things break right for us last year that may not necessarily happen this year. So I'll say that what we have actually had over about the past 4 seasons is on average a win rate about 20% across all our leagues, which if you're playing in high stakes leagues, a win rate at 20% is massive. That's over double your expectation. Now, Underdog since we're drafting with a lot of our listeners here, I think that the drafts have been a little harder. So if we're talking about the drafts that I'm doing with my listeners, I would expect that my win rate would probably fall down to 15%, because you have to also keep in mind that all these people that I'm drafting with, they literally have used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. So they have my draft guide, they have my rankings, and I'm not drafting just off my rankings here because we are trying to change our exposureship levels to a few players slightly. So even though we're not drafting purely off our rankings, they do have a small edge over me. So I'd say my expected win rate, at least if I was having to ballpark it, of course, there are so many things that play into it. I would say about a 15% win rate. And I think that's a safe mark. So I'd say if we're playing in 300 leagues, 15% of 300, that's going to be like, what, 45? I could have butchered that math. I'll do the math on my phone. Okay, so we're going to go with a McCole Hardman here, definitely for one pick. We're going to get a stack with Patrick Mahomes. We're going to double stack him with Tyreek Hill. So let's just draft him. Let's not waste too much time. And then with our next selection here, since we're not treating like this as a Best Ball Mania draft, I'm not going to be considering a Michael Thomas. So at running back, we do have two guys already, and we could use an extra receiver. But since we take Mahomes, we're only going to draft two quarterbacks, and we can get one at the very end of the draft. So instead, I think we save the extra roster spot on receiver. We're just going to take a Michael Carter here, someone that I'm having to take my L on, considering the fact that he opens up training camp as the first string running back with the first team offense. So it does look like he's going to be the starter. So we are moving him up our rankings. So Carter's going to be the pick there at the 801. But yeah, like I said, I thought a 15% win rate with 300 leagues was 45. Let's see how bad I am at math. 45. God, I am a literal genius, literal human calculator. Okay, so Rodgers at the 803. Okay, we did not mean to do that. Let me put that down. Actually, I guess we can have that up for anybody coming through, so I don't have to necessarily just continue to explain what we're doing with Underdog Fantasy. So we'll actually keep that up. Okay, so after we go Carter, we're kind of hoping that some more running backs go off the board, because when we start Jonathan Taylor, Kareem Hunt, Michael Carter, I mean, we're not necessarily having to continue to hammer in running backs. Now, we are still going to have to draft 5 running backs on this team. I don't necessarily think we got away from that at all. So we're going to be drafting 5 running backs on this team. And also, guys, please let me know what y'all think. Is this ticker down here at the bottom extremely annoying? If it's extremely annoying seeing that scroll across, I will hide it. I figured it's probably more annoying hearing me talk about Underdog Fantasy and the special that we have with them currently. I feel like that's maybe a little bit more annoying hearing me talk about that instead of talking about the draft. So let me know what y'all prefer. Let me know what y'all prefer. Okay, Tommy says, hey, Mason, I got the 104 in a 14-team half PPR league. What type of strategy would you use? So in a 14-team league, you should expect running backs to go definitely earlier, given the fact that the player pool is going to dry up a little more. So it's going to depend. If you're in the back half of the first round, I think we would rather honestly just go receiver, and grab 2 elite guys like a Stephon Diggs and a Tyreek Hill. If we see the running backs dry up to the point where you're looking at running backs in the range of a Joe Mixon and Najee Harris, then I really don't like it. But it's mainly just going to depend on the side of the draft that you're on, because if you're drafting at the top, what I would probably recommend doing is grabbing one of those elite running backs and then going just receiver. But you have to just be a little aware that, I mean, running back is going to dry up really early on. And if I'm going to be punting like tight end or quarterback, I'm going to be willing to do it in a 14-team league compared to an 8-team league, to be honest. Okay, so let's switch this over. Okay, if y'all said the ticker wasn't bad, so let me go through. I'll add the ticker. That way I'm not bombarding y'all with every 15 seconds reading a promo code for Underdog. So we'll leave the ticker up. Okay. So we'll leave that. I just didn't know if it was going to be annoying seeing it like constantly scroll. So we'll leave it up. Michael Thomas goes at the 901. So we ended up taking him in the middle of the 8th. But like I said, in the last draft that we were doing something a little different, that we were just trying to reach for that ceiling, treating it like the Best Ball Mania draft. So at the 901 in a regular 12-man league, I'm not a massive fan of Michael Thomas, considering the fact that you're going to be without his points for a while. It's just mainly going to depend on the contest that you're playing. If you're playing in like the puppy, or if you're playing in Best Ball Mania, I am fine with the Michael Thomas value there. Aaron says, does Underdog show standings each week within your group? Yes, sir. Underdogs show standings. You can always go through and you can always check on Underdog. Okay, Scott says, maybe make the ticker thinner if possible. Let me pull it up. Let me see how thick it looks on my phone, because on my streaming software, it's kind of hard to see how everything looks, to be honest. So let me pull it up, see how it looks on my phone. I probably can't mess with it now, but if this is something that y'all would rather me change going forward with following streams, yeah, I'll make it a little thinner for the next stream. I'll make it a little thinner for y'all. Okay, Robinson at the 907. A.J. Dillon at the 905 is a fantastic value. This is a running back that I've been hyping up all offseason as someone that we know that, I mean, he's stepping into a role that Jamal Williams is leaving where he's going to see touches every single week. Jamal Williams has seen about 40% of the touches in Green Bay throughout his career there. And if we go through, if we look at this on top of everything, I mean, a player like an A.J. Dillon is significantly better. And if you were to have an injury to an Aaron Jones, he steps into a 3-down role in one of the best offenses in football. So I really do like an A.J. Dillon. Okay. Now we're going to be at a spot where I don't know if we want to begin looking at quarterbacks. So with the Tom Brady, we do have the potential stack here with the Chris Godwin, but we did take Mahomes. So we already have so much invested into a Patrick Mahomes that I don't necessarily know if we can afford to go with the quarterback here. But if we would go with one, it would be a Tom Brady. Now at receiver, Michael Pittman, Devontae Parker. And what I really want to point out is the fact that, yeah, so James Conner goes. So when we have Taylor, Hunt, Michael Carter, I'm not stressing running back that much. And the receiver pool is definitely about to dry up. And in a best ball league, you definitely need to have that stable core of receivers. So this is going to be the first time we try to like bully around the board a little bit. And we're going to go with a Michael Pittman and a Devontae Parker because I've been caught on the wrong side of a wide receiver run in a league like this. And it is not fun whatsoever. I promise you that it's literally the least fun thing that you could ever be a part of. Now, Henry Ruggs does go at the 10:02. BJ yelling at us to take Zach Moss. My man, Zach Moss went 2 picks before we were on the clock. Okay, Brian Edwards at the 10:03. Okay, so hopefully we continue to see receivers go off the board because we started this draft off with a decent amount of receivers, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. When you're picking at the end like this, I was kind of upset with how our draft had gone up until this point because we hadn't had the option to go through and really bully anybody at the position. But I think we did a good job with it now in that we finally wait and we pick our correct spot and identify a position that's about to dry up soon. And yeah, we go through, double up on it instead of continuing to balance it out with depth. So maybe it's kind of like poker where you just have to wait for your spots a little bit when we're going through. Now, Melvin Gordon in the middle of the 10th. Y'all know I've been screaming how much more talented Javonte Williams is. But if you are going to be drafting Melvin Gordon, I'm going to be fine with the 10:06. Sid the Kid says, what is a slow draft on Underdog? So Underdog offers 2 kinds of drafts. We are doing one right now, which is called a fast draft. This is going to be a draft where it's a 30-second timer. And with the 30-second timer, obviously, you're just going to have to sit there and you're going to have to be available for like the next hour. But for people that have busy lives, maybe you're a dad, maybe you have to go to work, they actually offer a slow draft where there's an 8-hour timer. So that one's going to take a couple days. So yeah, it's just a completely different draft based on the amount of time that's on the clock. Outside of that, everything's the same. Now let me go through. Let me show y'all the top of the draft board for anybody who's just now coming into this live stream. And you know what I'm about to say. If you're just now coming into the stream, make sure you're going down there, dropping a like on the stream, and showing me some praise for this beautiful team that we have drafted. Tyreek Hill, Taylor, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Godwin, Odell Beckham Jr. So we get the stack with the Tyreek, Mahomes, and we get McCole Hardman down here to complete the double stack. And we are fine at running back. The only spot that we're a little weak is going to be tight end. Or tight end, I do think that we need to go through and we need to be looking at players that are going to be able to fit a construction where we have 3. We're not going to be able to just go with 2 guys. I mean, even if we have someone like an Adam Troutman falling to us, it's kind of whatever. We're drafting 3 regardless at this point. So I am fine continuing to pass on them in the 11th and 12th round, understanding that we already missed the boat on only having to draft 2. Teresa coming out says Justin Jefferson practiced today. Okay, massive for Justin Jefferson. It did sound like he was going to be okay, so I am happy to hear that nonetheless. And now we have a little bit of a quarterback run going. When you have Mahomes, obviously, you're kind of rooting for a quarterback run to happen sometime soon. So it's happening right now. Stafford, Joe Burrow, Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill. I'll be completely fine waiting until the end of the draft and our first quarterback maybe being someone like Sam Darnold. I'm sorry, our first quarterback on our bench, and that's going to be our only quarterback on our bench. Now, Kenyon Drake at the 11:03. I would have loved to have Kenyon Drake at the end of the 11th round. Void says, why is CeeDee Lamb so high and why would you not want to stack him? Okay, so let me go through. Let me check out where CeeDee Lamb ended up going in this draft. So he went here at the 2-3 turn. So was there an yeah, I don't think there was even an opportunity to stack him, to be honest, because here, if you're going through, you see that Dak goes in the middle of the 6th. I think the pick that's really bad is going to be a Josh Allen at the 501. I think that's the bad pick, to be completely honest. I'm not going to fault anybody for taking a CeeDee Lamb here, but when you take Lamb, and when you really start the draft this way, I think you're just going to be too far behind the rest of the league in terms of the receivers that you have if you decide to go with an Allen at the 501. BJ coming out with a donation says, keep up the hard work and doing what you're doing. I appreciate it. No, my man, I appreciate you so much for coming out here, showing the stream some love. And guys, if y'all do appreciate these drafts, the best way that you can show that is by signing up for Underdog Fantasy. Like I said, this is our first partnership ever. So I'm really hoping that this goes well. If y'all want to see these drafts happen next offseason, this partnership better go pretty freaking well, to be honest. So make sure you're using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy and watch me go back on my word here and possibly draft a Jalen Hurts as our second quarterback, because this is a guy that is literally 25 picks currently behind his ADP. Now, we did talk about Adam Troutman falling. Troutman's not a big deal for us, given the fact that, we were going to have to draft 3 tight ends regardless. We have 6 receivers, one of them being a Tyreek Hill. Let's take Jalen Hurts here as our second quarterback, and then we're going to stall for our next pick. So if we're going through and we're looking at our next pick here, receiver, I think we're kind of strong. I'm not going to go Bateman. I'm not considering Bateman in this format. Instead, I'm really considering, do we want Nelson Aguilar or do we want Adam Troutman? And I think when we do not have a tight end yet, we'll just take Adam Troutman. I'm just kind of having to take my L here with Troutman, considering the Michael Thomas situation is more severe than we thought. There are going to be a lot of targets available. So we're going to go with Troutman at the 1201. And now we're going to be done at quarterback officially. We're going to be 1 tight end down in our 3 tight end build. That could have been a mistake. We possibly should have gone receiver there. The problem is the receivers we're not pretty whatsoever. Sir Dilly says, how many more drafts tonight? Are you excited for the Dynasty draft this Saturday, Mason? How are you tonight? I'm doing very well tonight, my man. Yes, I'm excited about that Patreon Dynasty draft that we have going on Saturday. And I will say that we are 100% doing one more draft after this. Possibly we get a second one in as well. It's mainly going to depend on how many likes we get on the live stream, how many people are hanging out with us in the live chat. David says, Mason, when can we expect some Dynasty content? My rookie draft's coming up soon and would love some content. Okay, my man, I actually have recorded a updated Dynasty rookie rankings video. Now that is currently being edited, so it's going to depend on when that's done getting edited. I will say, if you want 100+ pages just on this Dynasty rookie class in a comprehensive draft guide, you can use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Not only get our 2021 draft guide with hundreds of pages, but also get our 2021 Dynasty rookie draft guide with over 100 pages. So yeah, that's a way you can easily get some Dynasty rookie content, my man, is use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Philip says, what do you mean the MT situation is more severe than you thought? I thought he was coming back to New Orleans. The problem is with Michael Thomas, when he initially got hurt and we saw Adam Troutman vault up to being a 12th round selection, I was sitting there going, I don't necessarily like this idea. I think that while, yes, Adam Troutman is an exciting player and there are a lot of targets to go around, we essentially penciled in Michael Thomas to come back and Michael Thomas to be taking targets again in week 6. Is it settled that Michael Thomas is 100% going to be back in New Orleans next year? I don't think so. If you just call it a 20% chance that Michael Thomas is out of New Orleans permanently and we don't see him in 2021, then I think that you really want to be going through and you want to be drafting Troutman there. Avoid says, what is this format? I've never seen this before. This is Underdog Fantasy. My man, this is, in my opinion, the best place to host your drafts this year. If you're going to be drafting with friends and you're going to be wanting to submit a starting lineup each and every week and do waivers, then you can find somewhere else. But if you're wanting to become a better drafter, Underdog Fantasy is a place where you can go through. You can do real money fantasy football drafts, either with your friends or with random people in public lobbies. And literally, it's just really easy. You go, okay, there's a 12-man league. That's a $5, $50 buy-in, $25 buy-in, whatever you're looking for. It's about to fill up. Let me join. Let's draft. And then we're in it. And then you go through, you draft your team. And then Underdog at the end of every week submits your best starting lineup possible for you, so you get the most points possible, and there are no waivers. So you draft the team once, you never see it again, and if you win at the end, you get in one of the top 3 places, you win money. Obviously, all the buy-ins, everything, all the nitty-gritty details are listed over there on Underdog. Before you join a contest, you'll see exactly what the prizes are. Jayan says, is Ronald Jones at the 110 good value? Let me go through. Where did Ronald Jones go in this draft? I mean, Ronald Jones at the 110, we have to think that's fantastic value, right? Especially in an Underdog format where you're just kind of hunting guaranteed touches at the running back position. So it does hurt to see, if we go back to this board, is while we liked seeing quarterbacks go off once we take a Jalen Hurts and we know that we're done drafting quarterbacks permanently, it does suck to see a Devin Singletary go off at the 1204, because I definitely consider drafting Devin Singletary over an Adam Troutman, just because I'm trying to get as many of those Buffalo running backs at a discount as I can this year. And I sound like such a hypocrite because last year I was screaming to avoid them. But I think this year, just at the discount, you kind of want to be drafting those players. Okay, so now let's pull this draft board back up. David Johnson falling again. Would we take David Johnson in the 14th round in back-to-back drafts? I may be underreacting. Now, clearly David Johnson was a running back I never drafted before, and I'm just used to seeing him go off in the 11th. So maybe I'm being an idiot here, thinking that I should be drafting him here if he falls to the 13-14 turn. Okay, so Nyheim Hines goes. So both teams before us already have 4 running backs. The thing is, we only have Taylor, Hunt, and Michael Carter. We're not going to be looking at QB. So it's, okay, David Johnson goes, so we don't have to consider Johnson. I think Alexander Mattison is an intriguing play here. But we're going to be drafting 5 running backs regardless. Tight ends, I'm not going to be considering once Gronk goes off the board. So let's get a Randall Cobb, not a Rondale. And then from here, let's actually get Rondale Moore's teammate in AJ Green. If we want a receiver, the thing is with Alexander Mattison, I really want him in the Best Ball Mania format where we're hunting elite ceilings. I don't necessarily know if he fits this format well. Instead, I think we go back-to-back receivers. And let's get an AJ Green. We already drafted a Michael Pittman, and we can't draft another quarterback. We can't take Wentz. So I'm not going to be wanting to draft a T.Y. Hilton, a Michael Pittman on the same team without Carson Wentz. Willie telling us to go with a Phillip Lindsay. I think that once we take wide receiver there, we could just go through and actually, did we take one too many receivers? Okay, we need, I think we took one too many receivers. So we have 4 picks left. Actually, no, we need 2 tight ends. We need 2 running backs. Okay, we're perfect. Never mind. I'm sorry. I thought that we were only going to have 4 running backs or 3 tight ends on the team. I didn't realize that we were going to get the best of both worlds. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. See, the thing is, the wide receiver pool is about to dry up so quickly that I think that we just go out there and we get those guys right now. Goose Khan says, thoughts on AJ Green this year? He got paid $8 million. He should be running a lot of routes on one of the best offenses in football. So yeah, we're going to find AJ Green as a decent pickup in a league like this. Okay, so Lindsey goes at the 1407, Cole Kmet at the 1406. And there are running backs that I have in mind that we're going to be going with our last 2 picks. I don't know our last 2 picks, but we're going to get 2 picks here. Jan says, surprise you took Cup over Kittle at the 310 at Mr. Hackman. Wait, did Kittle go at the 311 here? No. Okay. Maybe you're in a draft with someone else. Sorry. Okay, so let's move this over. So you do have some more running backs going off the board. So we do not want running backs going off the board. What we need to see, draft them quarterbacks, draft them wide receivers. We are done at those positions. We need tight ends. We need running backs falling back to us. Brian says, what is the strategy for the Puppy League? The Puppy League, you really want to be unique. You want to be creating a unique team. Go through, and I don't know if you were actually here at the beginning of the live stream. I talked about my strategy for a Best Ball Mania team, and I actually went through and drafted a team at the very beginning as if it was a Best Ball Mania, which should be very similar to what you're drafting with the Puppy. So go through and look at that kind of draft that I did, And I think that you'll see exactly kind of my thought process as we go through and draft. Jayan says, no, y'all are in the same puppy draft. Oh, okay. You know that I love getting KJ Hamler here. Now it sucks. KJ Hamler in the 15th instead of being able to get him in the 18th like we were a while ago. But it is what it is. It is what it is. MVS at the 1504. MVS, I think, in the last draft went like the 13th round. T.Y. Hilton, I am so surprised. So surprised that all these receivers went over T.Y. I would probably prefer taking T.Y. Hilton over every receiver that was not named A.J. Green that we took, to be completely honest. I mean, I was very close to taking a T.Y. Hilton. Malcolm Brown, one of our running backs, goes off the board. I thought we were getting Malcolm Brown in the 15th round. That sucks. That really does suck. I thought we were a shoo-in for Malcolm Brown. So we are just running back, tight end here. The only positions we can look at. I really wanted a Malcolm Brown. That sucks. I thought that we had him. Okay, so let's see where Fallon decides to go. This is a team with Russell Wilson, DeAndre Swift. Okay, so he goes Anthony Firkser. That kind of sucks. We clearly need a tight end sometime soon. We need running back as well. Let me go through. Let me scroll down, see the running backs at the bottom. A Devontae Booker, a lot less appealing than when we were drafting him previously. You can't be really taking Devontae Booker now. Okay. So Hunter Henry goes. So I think we're possibly going James White and Austin Hooper here. I think we kind of keep it a little balanced. We're going to get players that we know have roles on their offenses. So we're going to White because we definitely can't be just completely rolling the dice on another running back getting back to us. And we're going to go Hooper. Let's go White and let's go Hooper. Let me go no cam, go down here, show the bottom of the board. We can get a ticker going down there at the bottom. Fallon says, can you check me out at the 109? Yes, sir. Let me go up to the 109 really quick. Okay, so Diggs, Metcalf, Swift at the 309 I really do like. Then Lockett, Myles Gaskin. You get the double stack with a Russell Wilson here. Yes, you technically have to reach on Russell Wilson a tiny bit, but you don't know if he's going to make it back to you at the 709. And I agree, once you draft a Tyler Lockett and a DK Metcalf, you do have to draft Russell Wilson. You have to draft Russell Wilson. And then beyond this, Damian Harris is your running back 3. With the Damian Harris, honestly, I prefer drafting a receiver here. I mean, easily I prefer getting a Curtis Samuel, a Jalen Waddle, a Hollywood Brown. I mean, this is the pocket of guys that I want to be drafting. Then Tyler Higbee, Rondale Moore, Emmanuel Sanders, Devin Singletary, Naheem Hines, Paris Campbell, Anthony Firkser, and then John Brown. John Brown, yes, a massive, massive faller, but it's for a right reason. And that this is literally a receiver that is a veteran that they made him go out there and play the first preseason game and let Bryan Edwards take a little rest day, which is obviously hilarious. And it does not bode well whatsoever if you were going to be expecting someone to get any kind of value down there with the John Brown. So it's really funny to see that. But John Brown definitely has to be a massive, massive faller. Okay, so Hungry says, can you check me out at the 104? Yes, sir. Let me go through. Let me check out the 104 for you real quick. So the 104 is going to be right here, which started with a Derrick Henry. I will say I prefer having both Alvin Kamara and Devontae Adams over Derrick Henry. Then a Justin Jefferson, a J.K. Dobbins. Honestly, I probably prefer at this point to go with a receiver like an Allen Robinson over a J.K. Dobbins as well. If you're worried about finding running backs later on, then sure, I think you can go with Dobbins. My personal preference, though, is probably going to be going with an Allen Robinson. And then beyond that, you get a Trey Sermon, a Justin Herbert. I don't know if we love the Herbert pick. Yes, it's a massive value according to his ADP. Then a Logan Thomas, the 809, Corey Davis, Tom Brady. Okay, Tom Brady, I don't like this selection whatsoever. I mean, when you already have a Justin Herbert that you took in the 7th, I probably would be trying to see if any of these players would have made it back to you in the 11th round, which I think probably could have been done. But if you were wanting to go QB tight end here anyway, I mean, you end up getting the best tight end available regardless. Going down, Jacoby, Marquez Callaway, Alexander Madison. Love the Madison value. I really like the Giovanni Bernard value as well. Okay, so if we're going down here, this is what we wanted to see. We want to see these receivers going off the board. What we don't want to see is, I mean, our former 18th round pick in almost every draft, Ramondre Stevenson, now getting drafted at the end of the 16th round, having no chance to draft him at the end of the 17th, the beginning of the 18th, even though I will say that in one of those Best Ball Mania drafts that I did earlier today, he actually ended up falling to the 18th round. I wasn't able to draft him because based on my roster construction, I was having to be done at that particular position. But yeah, I mean, it was a ridiculous value seeing Ramondre Stevenson after the blow-up week in the preseason still going in that range. Okay, Zachary says, what do you think on my picks, my man? I'll get to that in 1 second. Let me go through and just prepare our next 2 picks first, which here we're going to get 1 running back and 1 tight end. There's some great quarterback value currently, but we can't necessarily even look in that direction. So there are 2 guys that really stand out to me here. I'm excited about this. 2 guys that really stand out. Okay, I just kind of have to keep my mouth shut because since we're picking at the end here, if I kind of give a hint on the 2 guys that I'm looking at, then we could see them just go here knowing that these players could get whoever else they wanted right in the following round. So yeah, we're going to have to be quiet just a little bit, try to figure out how to get these guys to fall. Okay, Derek Carr, Ben Roethlisberger. We need to see those quarterbacks go off the board. And teams waited on QB so long here. I mean, I think it was literally just to spite us. They heard we were done drafting quarterbacks. Okay, so now, come on, give us our guys. Give us our guys, Austin Eckler's hairline. Give us our guys. Come on. He possibly needs to go QB. So yeah, now we get our players. We're going to get a Darrington Evans at running back, backing up a running back coming off of 800 touches the past 2 years, 27 and a half years old, a premium handcuff here. And we're also going to get Dawson Knox, who I think his ADP was suppressed slightly with the rumors that you were going to have a Zach Ertz traded to Buffalo. But yeah, now I'm going to be very excited about going through and getting both our guys and a Darrington Evans and a Dawson Knox. So we complete this build with 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 8 receivers, and 3 tight ends. Now let's go through and let's look at Zachary's team real quick. So Zachary ended up drafting, where did he draft? Okay, here at the 108. So let's go through. Let's pull this up. So he takes a Travis Kelce at the 108, Antonio Gibson. Then he gets his wide receiver value. You get really lucky that you have a Chase Claypool falling to you in the middle of the 5th to try to find those spike weeks at receiver. Javonte Williams, get really lucky about that pick. Mike Williams at the 708. Okay, so this is a selection that I know his ADP is kind of around this range. Personally, I haven't been drafting Mike Williams much at all. Instead, I've been preferring the wide receivers like a DJ Chark and a Will Fuller, honestly, over Mike Williams. But I agree that you should have gone wide receiver there. Then Ronald Jones at the 805. So if we're looking at this as well, would you prefer having Ronald Jones and Marvin Jones? Or would you, Ronald Jones or Marvin Jones? Yeah, okay, so I said that correctly. Or would you prefer having the combination of someone like a Curtis Samuel and a Zach Moss? I may prefer Curtis Samuel and Zach Moss, but maybe that's just with me being so high on Laviska Shenault this year. Love the Noah Fant value. Hopefully you're done at tight end after that. Leonard Fournette, Matt Ryan, Sterling Shepard, Jamison Crowder, Xavier Jones, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ben Roethlisberger. I really like that team. I think that's a fantastic roster. Okay, so we're going to get our next draft going, my dudes. Please, please, please. Just be on the lookout. I am not going to do a poll on this one because if we're going to possibly get another draft going after this, I think we need to be really quick with how fast I set this up. So let me switch this over here. We should have all had a chance to see the entire draft board. This is going to be a $50 draft that I'm about to set up, everybody. Okay, so just know that the link to the private draft is going to be sent in the live chat. Do not join a draft on the lobby. Okay, so it's going to be a $50 12-man draft. Okay, so let's copy this link. Okay, link copied. I'm sending it out in the live chat right now. And let's switch this over. And guys, if you have yet to drop a like on the live stream, make sure you go down there, drop that like. It helps us out so much. Let's get this live stream over 400 likes. Let's get a lot of people in here. So we'll do 4 drafts tonight instead of 3. Okay, but now we sent that link out, so hopefully this fills relatively quickly. Usually the $50 drafts do fill with no problem. But, okay, so it looks like the link worked. Okay, it looks like the link worked. It's just taking a little bit of time to get people in here. So if you wanted to join this draft, guys, based on how this kind of filled up a little slower, like you didn't see it go 1, 2, then 5 people all in at once, it looked like you probably could have got in if you wanted in this league. We're going to get the 106. I literally drafted here maybe 20 different times today on when we were taking those $1 million Best Ball Mania teams. NRG Fantasy Focus says, Jesus, my man, was it hard to get in? It looks slow on my end to get in. Were a lot of people trying to get in? Dak Champs says, I got in. Happy that you got in, my man. Tyler says, I can't with my internet, man. Okay, so apparently this was harder to get in than it looked like on the screen. On the screen, it looked like we had a massive lag, and it looked like it took a second. Philip says he got the 109. Gavin says he got the 110. I'm just kind of so bored with the 106, to be honest. I know it's like, just sounds like I'm complaining, but at the 106, I have drafted so many teams from the 106 today. I mean, I probably did 6 drafts before we started up the live stream through the course of the day. And I probably had 4 picks at either the 106 or the 107. So I would have honestly preferred anything else, to be honest, just to get us some variety going. Teddy says, it was a pleasure drafting with you, Mason. Appreciate everything you do. No, my man, I appreciate you coming out to the live streams, showing some support to the channel, testing out Underdog Fantasy to see what you think for it yourself, because I promise you, you going through and using promo code FLOCK helped me out way more than you'd ever believe. So thank you, my man. And now we are on the clock, and let's pull this up, and let's just probably take Ezekiel Elliott. So yeah, let's go with Ezekiel Elliott. So if you look at my rankings, I'm actually going to end up having a player like a Saquon Barkley a little bit higher, but a big thing is when we're doing this many drafts, we have to go through and we have to understand that if I'm going to be drafting in 250 teams and I have the potential to draft Saquon Barkley a lot at the end of the first round, I mean, I kind of have to do that. So even if I have Barkley ranked over Elliott, if I want to balance my exposures, if I draft Saquon Barkley over Ezekiel Elliott every time they're both available to me, I will literally have Saquon Barkley in maybe 100 out of the 300 leagues that I do. And obviously that is way too much risk for me to have zero Ezekiel Elliott and 100 Saquon Barkley. So instead, I'd rather it be, we have 70 Saquon Barkley and all of those come at a later ADP and about 30 Ezekiel Elliott up here. So just more so balancing risk, even though I do really like Barkley at this 110 pick. Okay, so it looks like a lot of people in the chat said, yeah, the $50 draft went through and filled extremely fast. NRG wants us to get a $100 draft going. My man, I think maybe we spent too much time doing those Best Ball Mania drafts. I don't know if I can get another $100 draft going tonight. Maybe if we have a lot of people out here and we have a lot of likes on the stream, then we'll get a $100 draft going. But it's going to depend on that because I just can't get a $100 draft going just for the hell of it. I wish I could. Trust me, I wish I could. But well, sadly, life does not work like that. So now let's pull this up. So after taking Zeke, we're hoping that one player in particular falls to me. So DK Metcalf goes at the 204. Jonathan Taylor at the 201. In those Best Ball Mania drafts, I've been taking a ton of Taylor just because the upside's there. And also he was being drafted in the middle of the first in drafts earlier this offseason. So Hopkins goes to the 205. Oh my God. Party Till She's Hot is in this draft. That sucks. Who did he start off with? He goes Tyreek Hopkins. I'm going to hate drafting with him. I'm going to hate drafting him with him so much. So Nick Chubb goes. So looking at the draft room, I've drafted with a decent amount of these players before, and I can already tell that this is going to be a very wide receiver heavy draft. So I think we go through, and the problem is if you fall behind at receiver in Underdog, you are just straight up dead. So in a lot of other rooms, like if this was a $5 draft, I would probably be going with a Joe Mixon here. But instead, I think we can't necessarily afford to be behind at the wide receiver position So we are instead going to be going with an A.J. Brown at the 207. Let me know what y'all are thinking. Let me know if you think that I am just overthinking that extremely. Finn says, how safe is drafting Aaron Jones at the 204? It's literally like the safest pick you could ever make. I mean, Aaron Jones at the 204 is ridiculous. Okay, Terry coming in and asking a very, very, very long trade question. My man, I cannot go through and read your entire team and your entire trade question. I do that stuff on Patreon every day. I'm not going to be able to do that on a live stream. Okay, so CeeDee Lamb goes at the 301. A very standard start. You see this start so many times. Now, Terry McLaurin at the 302. Justin Jefferson. Can you imagine taking CeeDee Lamb and Terry McLaurin over Justin Jefferson? That is just wild to me. That is wild. Okay, so let me switch this back over. Amari Cooper goes. So we're going to take Allen Robinson. Like I said, this is going to be I can tell this is going to be a wide receiver heavy draft. So I don't want to fall behind at the receiver position. So we're going to go with Zeke, A.J. Brown, and Allen Robinson to start us off. Now, just Dak on the clock has yet to draft a receiver. Maybe he goes Dobbins here and he really pushes those running backs up the draft board. Because I believe the top two running backs available currently are going to be Dobbins and Swift. I really don't think you can... Actually, I guess you consider Mahomes if you have Kelsey. You can. I personally want it. But no, he goes with the receiver. He goes with Robert Woods. Now, party till she's hot. Maybe he gets himself a DeAndre Swift, a J.K. Dobbins after going with a Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins start. So Tom says, massive L. I'm assuming that's in reference of us going with an Allen Robinson. I really like Allen Robinson in fantasy this year. So yeah, party till she's hot does get DeAndre Swift as his first running back. CX Lids says, after doing a full Puppy 3 draft, I can say that I hate my team. I'll say, guys, if you are joining Underdog Fantasy, promo code FLOCK, get your $25 bonus, get your draft guide, get your rankings, get your tiers. I would definitely advise you to do a $5 $5 puppy draft before you hop in a Best Ball Mania. Personally, I'm doing the Best Ball Mania because I really like the $25 buy-in and I can do multiple of those throughout the day. But definitely at least get some $5 practice reps in with the puppy because you don't want to hop in and just burn $25. Connor says, thoughts on Mike Gesicki? My man, if you look at my rankings compared to Mike Gesicki's ADP, you will see that I am significantly higher compared to consensus on Mike Gesicki. This is someone that since the Hunter Long injury, we don't necessarily have to worry about him losing that many snaps. And at the same time, he has an elite athletic profile, an elite size, and we just kind of need to make a bet on him continuing to develop at the position where it's the hardest to develop at, and it takes tight ends way longer than other positions to finally come to their full prime. So maybe Mike Gesicki is just a late bloomer, and I'm honestly willing to make that bet. Okay, so Chris Godwin at the 401. Cooper Kupp at the 404. Let's switch this around. So Chris Carson at the 405. I'm going to have to kind of keep my mouth shut here just because this is a $50 draft. Thank God we get DJ Moore. Thank God. I was praying that we were getting DJ Moore. I love this start that we have so far. So we start this draft. Zeke, A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, DJ Moore. Honestly, this is like the perfect start in my opinion. If you're going to be drafting from the 106 and a room that I perceive to be wide receiver heavy. And this is a $50 draft, guys. So there is some pressure on the line. So excuse me if like when we're leading up to the pick that I'm going to have to kind of sit here and just meander for a little bit. And I know some people have told us, we'll just put a delay on the stream and that way you can talk about it while going through in real time. And I will say that A, I don't necessarily know how to put a delay on the stream. I am very stupid. And B, I want to make sure that I can still interact with the chat. And it's a lot easier for me to interact with the chat if there's that small natural delay that we have compared to me putting a large one on there. Okay, so people asking, why do I like DJ Moore? With DJ Moore, you're looking at a receiver that was literally, I mean, the elite of the elite. If you look at his second year age-adjusted production, he came into the NFL at 21 years old. He was a very good rookie to end his rookie season. And then his sophomore year, he blew up, was a top 12 receiver in fantasy. And then to go along with this, yes, he takes a small fall off the year after, but we have to consider that he has had some atrocious quarterback play. And I think with a DJ Moore, the talent profile is clearly there. And we've seen this with his age-adjusted production. So we're just more so betting on the talent with the DJ Moore compared to anything. Okay. So Jamar Chase at the 501. Now let me go through. Let me pull this up. So y'all know, I actually have a video coming out where I talk about Kyle Pitts directly and talk about why he's on my do not draft list for this upcoming season. So I am not drafting Kyle Pitts at the 506. Like if you're drafting here, just know that you can pass on Kyle Pitts. I'm passing on him too. There's no way I'm drafting Kyle Pitts. So at quarterback as well. So you have Allen, Kyler, Lamar. Personally, I wouldn't consider Allen or Kyler here. Javonte Williams at the 503 in those best ball mania drafts. I mean, when we're going through and when we're drafting for the $1 million on top, I've been able to get Javonte Williams at the end of the 6th. Now I think we just get the guaranteed touches in a Josh Jacobs. So we're going to go with a Jacobs here. And Jacobs is just one of my highest owned players. And I hated him earlier this offseason when he was going in the 3rd round. Now, B coming out with a question says, would you trust Javonte Williams at Denver as a running back too if you go wide receiver heavy? Yes, I love Javonte Williams. I've been screaming for the past, I don't know, month now that Javonte Williams is a massive value when you're getting him in the 6th round. It's kind of funny that a lot of people are out here trying to battle me saying that you actually had Melvin Gordon as the more talented running back there and Melvin Gordon was going to be the starter. That is not the case whatsoever. Javonte Williams will be the starting running back in Denver. The problem is maybe it takes a month, but if you're playing in a league where you have a playoff format to it, Javonte Williams is going to be a perfect guy there, and that he's going to be getting you points when you need them most at the very end of the season. So yeah, Javonte Williams at the 503. This is a little rich. I do prefer having Travis Etienne and Josh Jacobs, but I mean, I still think the talent is immense with Javonte Williams, and the opportunity will be there. Okay, so Kyle Pitts at the 510. So Pitts finally goes off the board. And if we were going to consider a quarterback here, I would have considered Lamar Jackson. So if you go through and if you read my draft guide for 4-point passing touchdown leagues, I've actually gone out and I've ranked Lamar Jackson as our quarterback 2 overall. And there I'm willing to kind of reach on him. But a big thing is I would rather reach on a Lamar Jackson at the end where we can guarantee ourselves that we are going to get a stack with someone like a Mark Andrews directly after. So if we were picking closer to over here, I would be more inclined to draft the Lamar Jackson, considering I think we could potentially get the stack with Mark Andrews on the way back. And I am sure that Dolo here is upset. Actually, no, he's probably fine taking Andrews because he has Mahomes. So I don't think he could have taken Lamar at the 602 regardless. Okay, so now let's go through and Minic Man says, are you concerned about Etienne's low time share in the preseason game? No. Not at all. Okay, so let's pull this up. We are 3 picks away. So we have gone so far Zeke, Josh Jacobs, AJ Brown, Allen Robinson, and DJ Moore. So now the guy that we would have gone with the TJ Hawkinson off the board. We could potentially, okay, no, we're going to go with the Kenny Golladay here. Golladay is going to be a little more interesting in a format like this because he does provide those spike weeks given his extremely high average depth of target. So Dak would have been intriguing considering that we do have Ezekiel Elliott. And with Dak Prescott, what we would essentially been betting on is if we would have got Dak here at the middle of the 6th, if we could have gotten a Michael Gallup coming back in the middle of the 7th, then we would have been like going, okay, well, if Dallas is one of the highest volume offenses in the league this year and they have an insane amount of trips to the red zone, clearly we are going to be crushing the competition. But at the same time, I mean, we weren't even necessarily guaranteed to get a Michael Gallup coming back to us in the 7th. Okay, so guys, if you have yet to go down there and drop a like on the live stream, make sure you drop a like on the stream. Get this stream over 400 likes. That helps us out so much. And also, make sure you're using promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Get our draft guide. Get a $25 bonus when you deposit $10. And help out the channel more than you could ever believe. Sir Dilly says, how is your strategy different in a half PPR waiver wire redraft? Would you not care too much about going running back heavy, or do you just like the value coming to you instead? In a half PPR league, what you have to make the slight adjustment to, if you're playing in a league that has a waiver wire, which I'm assuming 99% of people are, you have to understand that you're going to be wanting to play running backs more in the flex than in a traditional full PPR format. Like if you go through, if you read my draft guide, you'll actually see clear examples where I lay it out with charts and lay it out with graphs, and why in a full PPR league, you really want to be drafting wide receiver heavy, understanding that you're going to be playing receivers in the flex spots more times than not, and that's definitely going to be the optimal play. But the closer you get to a non-PPR format, the more it makes sense to play a running back in your flex spot. So the emphasis on the depth of the receiver position is going to go down just slightly. So I would say that if I'm playing in a half PPR league, I would maybe bump down receiver value slightly, raise up running back value, and mainly just lowering down the wide receiver depth value. Okay, so here, the thing is, I have drafted like no Myles Gaskin at all this season. And that's because he was going at the beginning of he was going at the end of the 5th, the beginning of the 6th. I'm definitely going running back here. I just don't know if I go Gaskins or Edmonds. I have a lot of Edmonds. We're used to getting him in the middle of the 7th. We're going to take Gaskin. Not someone that I love, but we don't have him at all. So if we're going to be getting this massive discount on him, this is going to be the one spot where it makes sense. I don't like the pick whatsoever. I mean, obviously Malcolm Brown looks like he's going to be taking a ton of touches there this upcoming season. But yeah, we're going to get Gaskin at the 706. Jayan says, Colin Johnson just went at the 1708 in my puppy, and I think that turns me off of him. I got Malcolm Brown at the 1802. Getting Malcolm Brown at the 1802 is disgusting. That is beautiful. Bai says, would you trust Jonathan Taylor as your running back 1 PPR to go hero running back? Yes, if you're playing in a best ball format, I think that would be fantastic. Or if you're playing in a league with multiple flex spots, if you're playing in a league where you only start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 flex, then it's going to be a little different in that you really don't need the depth at receiver, where I would possibly not necessarily lean into hero running back in a format like that. Just understanding your format's going to be crucial. I actually talk about in that draft guide, I'm sure that so many of y'all have already read this chapter, but I've gone through and I talked about how adjusting the amount of flex spots that you have in your starting lineup alters the strategy round by round and what you're trying to accomplish in your draft. So I'll say a hero running back construction, I think, makes a lot of sense if you're going to be playing in a league where you start 3 wide receivers in your starting lineup, or you have 2 flex spots where, yeah, you can be crushing all your league mates at receiver and also the multiple flex spots. But if you're playing in a league where literally at the most you can only start 3 receivers, it's just a little less intriguing there. Okay, so now let's go through, pull this up. Rojo goes to the 802, so we do like to see that, because I'm honestly, when we go 3 running backs, 4 receivers, I'm really not wanting to draft more running backs. We have too many needs elsewhere. McCole Hardman goes to the 803. Y'all know I'd have been happy to take McCole. Michael Thomas, I'll be fine taking him in a Best Ball Mania draft. I don't know how excited we would be to take him in a closed format like this. Damian Harris goes to the 804. Thank God. I did not want Damian Harris. Party till she's hot. Let's check up on his team. Okay, Kyler, Swift, Carson, Edmonds, 2 elite receivers, and then TJ Hawkinson down here. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, he goes receiver. That was kind of standard. You should have expected him to go receiver, honestly. Now, I do really like the value of an A.J. Dillon, but the problem is when we go Myles Gaskin in the last round, I should have passed on Gaskin. Yes, he's quote-unquote value, but at the same time, I hated the player to begin with, so what are we doing drafting him? I'm not going to be taking Aaron Rodgers here. I think we need to catch up on receiver based on that crappy pick that we made with Myles Gaskin. So we're going to go with the Jarvis Landry. Let me go through. Let me show this draft board off real quick. So we went Zeke, A.J. Brown, Allen Robinson, DJ Moore, Josh Jacobs, Kenny Golladay, Myles Gaskin, and Jarvis Landry here at the 807. Okay. NBA takes for everybody. Spamming that AJ Green's going to have a big year. My man, I'm going to have to mute you a little bit just because, I mean, you can't be spamming in the chat. You're going to get muted for a couple minutes. Okay, so let me go back and let's reevaluate this Myles Gaskin selection. So if we look at taking Gaskin here compared to an A.J. Dillon and Gaskin aren't going to be that far from me. I probably do prefer getting Juju Smith-Schuster and an A.J. Dillon compared to a Myles Gaskin and a Jarvis Landry. So even though that he looked like great value in the 7th round, I still think we want him falling further than that. I still think we're not going to be looking to draft him there. Now, Zach Moss does go at the 901. Aaron says, yo, Mason, I'm at the 112. No stacks yet. What do you think of the draft? My man, I'll be happy to go through, check out your team at the 112. Just let me make sure we get our own picks underway real quick. Okay, let's put this back up here. Okay, so the 906, we can look to do a couple different things. Now, obviously, Dallas Goedert is a massive follower. Now, I have to sit here and take an L. I was taking Dallas Goedert in the 8th round consistently, and I was happy making that selection. And now you see him in almost every single draft kind of falling to this range. And I still think we may want to be going with the receiver. As if we take a Goddard, what's the next tier of guys? You know, if we take a Goddard, we could potentially only have to take 2. I don't want to lock it in, but we're going to take Dallas Goedert there. I'm definitely trying to avoid in a lot of leagues. Maybe Hollywood Brown was the correct pick. But let me real quick check out this team here that we have for Aaron at the 112. Where he goes Eckler, Jonathan Taylor to start the draft. Really like that start. And then Julio, Godwin, Robbie Anderson to get some receivers. Lamar Jackson. This is the one quarterback that I'm fine not making any stacks with because he has that elite access to rushing upside. And if you look at the difference between like an Aaron Rodgers and a Lamar Jackson can be valuable in fantasy with his passing options not being valuable in fantasy, given the fact that you don't need to have the passing volume. You can just have him on the ground with what he provides with his legs. Whereas with an Aaron Rodgers, it's like the exact opposite. With an Aaron Rodgers, you do need him to go out and you need to have him with a ton of passing volume for him to really be anything whatsoever. So Lamar, I am fine not stacking. And you go through and just receiver. You're kind of making me jealous. I kind of wish we would not have gone through, and I wish we would have passed on. Sadly, we would have passed on to Dallas Goedert. Okay, so Kevin's saying he would join a $100 draft. Kevin, we'll get another draft going. I don't know if it's tonight, but we'll get another $100 draft going. If we don't get one tonight, we'll get one tomorrow. I promise that. I just don't know if we can be doing $100 drafts every single night. Like, trust me, I would like to be doing $100 drafts every single night. The people on Patreon have been kind enough to make it where I can do these drafts already. Let me look at how many people we have on Patreon. We got a ton of people signing up for Patreon today. And we have 867. That is ridiculous. Okay, I'm going to give a shout out real quick to everybody who's joined Patreon today, because listen to how many people have joined the flock on Patreon. Okay, this is a ridiculous amount. Okay, so let me go through, and this is just April 16th. Okay, this is a shout out for everybody who has joined the flock Patreon today. Sudden on the Dock of the Bay, Eden Levy, Caden Jerry, Kurt Carlson, Scott S., Robert Bond, Michael Anderson, Antonio Agito, Brian Vega, Detroit Snoop, Hutton Baker, Christian Garcia, Jason Wheeler, Sparrow Smith, Lithium 66, Brett Gittner, Amos Molina, and Nick. Thank you all so much for joining the flock on Patreon. That is definitely near the top of the most Patreon signups we've ever gotten in a day. I'm going to have a lot of in-depth team podcast breakdowns to make tomorrow. I am definitely going to have a lot of them. NRG Fantasy Focus says he's down for a $100 draft. Man, let me know. Have you been getting in any of the big dog drafts or anything? Have you been really grinding it out? Because I'm willing to grind out those Best Ball Mania drafts, because I think in those leagues I definitely have an edge. But I'm going to be completely honest. I'm kind of scared. I don't know if I have an edge in the big dog drafts. Now, we're going to get Jalen Hurts. This is a perfect pick. We don't have a quarterback yet. We just took Dallas Goedert. So, yeah, I mean, we get the stack that we would be looking for. At the same time, we fill a position of need. So, yeah, I really like that pick. But let me know if any of y'all have hopped in a big dog draft. So if you're looking at the big contest that Underdog is doing, they have 3 different levels. They have a $5 buy-in. I believe the top prize there is $250,000. That's called the puppy. They have the $25 buy-in, which is called Best Ball Mania. That's $1 million prize. And then they have the big dog, which I believe is also the same. Let me look this up to be sure real quick. But the thing is, they're going to have a lot less people entered into that contest. So your chances of winning are going to be higher. So actually the prizes are less. So they're only going to be 2.3 thousand leagues in the big dog, which is not many at all. Like if you look at Best Ball Mania, they're going to be 155,000 leagues entered into that. And then we go through and we look at the puppy. How many puppy leagues are there going to be? Yeah, they're going to be 223,000 puppy leagues. So yeah, the big dog, they're not going to have many drafts whatsoever. But let me know if anybody in this live stream has gone through and they have joined. I want to look at the exact buy-ins for the big dog because that's not many teams at all to go through and beat out. So first prize for the big dog is 100,000. And there are 2.3 thousand leagues, but obviously it's a $250 buy-in. So you have a lot more at risk. And I just, in my mind, I'm thinking that NRG says I would rather fire 10 entries into the Mania. That's exactly how I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the people, if I get into the big dog, I know I'm better than 99% of drafters in Best Ball Mania. At least I want to believe that I am. I'm too scared to get into the big dog. I'll say I do not know. So we're going to avoid that for now. If my bankroll was a lot more, then I would be willing to take some shots in there. But simply where we stand, I think we can't. Now we're going to get back-to-back quarterback stacks. This is going to be perfect. We're going to get Ryan Tannehill here to stack with A.J. Brown. And when we get these two quarterbacks, I think we're done at the QB position. Yeah, so we're going to get an extra roster spot where we can go with 5 running backs now. We can get 3 tight ends because we are going to be passing on tight ends in a range where I'm probably not going to feel comfortable just rolling with 2. So I love getting a Jalen Hurts here in the 10th and a Ryan Tannehill in the 11th. I think that is perfect considering this construction. Kevin says, need help joining. Oh, Kevin, I remember your comment from earlier today. My man, please just make sure. Okay, so make sure. I don't think we're going to be able to do another one tonight that I'll be able to send you a personal link out. But before we get the live stream going tomorrow night, I will just make sure you shoot me a DM on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Patreon, anything tonight. Just anywhere you can shoot me a DM. All the information is in the description of the stream that you can find that. And just let me know. Say, hey, I'm Kevin. I have ALS. Can you please help me get in the league? And I'll be very happy to share the first link to tomorrow night's stream with you. So please, 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 man, just make sure you shoot me a DM. Make sure you shoot me a DM because I have no other way to reach you if you don't shoot me a DM. Fantasy Dog says, you have a big edge, Mason. My man, big stakes players are just like big stake poker players, vastly overrated. Maybe. The thing is, though, even if I do have an edge, I mean, I can't be going through and blowing like $250 in a draft. That is, you know what? Maybe I can do it on a live stream. Maybe we'll do it on a live stream. That's what we'll do. I'll do a big dog draft, but I'll do it on a live stream. The thing is, whenever I'm doing all those Best Ball Mania drafts all day, I'm doing them by myself. So I'm not streaming them. So I can't be just sitting there like popping off $250 drafts a day. I would have to declare bankruptcy. Y'all would just like see me live streaming from the street. Okay, so now Latavius Murray at the 1201. Irv Smith, I would have loved to have Irv Smith falling to us at the 1207, but obviously that would have just been a pipe dream. Any random picks that we were seeing here? Rashad Bateman, obviously just a fall from grace given the injury. Matt Ryan at the 1203. Devin Singletary. Okay, so let's pull this up. So Lawrence, I mean, well, we aren't really even considering QB. Now, maybe if we have a quarterback falling to us in like the 17th or the 18th, we can consider him. But here we can't. So I think we possibly go with the Traquan Smith. So with the Traquan Smith, yeah, it looks like Marquez Callaway is actually going to be the receiver 1 in New Orleans. But at the same time, we have seen Traquan Smith have blow-up weeks before, even when Michael Thomas is playing. When we have Goddard, it's not a massive need for us to get a tight end here. So we're going to go with a Traquan Smith. And I'm not considering David Johnson in the 12th round. We've had back-to-back drafts where we have drafted him, sadly, for the first time all offseason, but that was in the 14th, not the 12th. Aaron says, the odds of winning the $250 league is so much better than the 25. I understand that, my man, but I can get in a lot of drafts in the 25. Like, if I can get in 10 drafts in the 25, let's increase my odds of winning that by 10 compared to 1 entry into the big dog. The Queek says, do you need an ID to join Underdog Fantasy? Personally, I did not need an ID. I just put in my name and my address, and I think they just looked me up, said, has this person registered before? No. Then they went through, verified my identity. The thing is, maybe it is going to be dependent on your state. Like maybe it's going to be just up to the state that you're in. Florida, I didn't need one. And I think the main reason they need your identity is because they're giving you $25 when you sign up with promo code FLOCK. So they can't have you making 20 different spam accounts and then all of a sudden just robbing them. So obviously they need to make sure that you're a real person, so you're not doing anything illegal. So I don't think you need your ID. I didn't need my ID. Let me know in the chat, guys, when you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, got that $25 bonus, got our draft guide, got our rankings. Let me know if you actually needed to submit a picture of your ID or anything. Okay, so JD McKissick at the 1302. We do need running backs in this league. So maybe we're looking back in our third round selection and not necessarily liking it as much. But let's go back over. Okay, the 1306. So we have drafted this team so far 2 quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill. At running back, we have Zeke, Jacobs, Miles Gaskin. So we're not in desperate need for running back. It would be nice to have someone. But running backs, if we're looking at best available, literally Rashad Penny at 165 ADP compared to 23 picks before with the Jonnu Smith. Okay, so here we're not actually, I don't know why we have quarterbacks clicked. We're not considering QB. We're definitely just going Jonnu Smith. There's nothing to think about here. Yeah, we're going to go Jonnu. So I think when we take Goddard and Jonnu, it sucks that we're investing this much into the tight end position, but I still think we need to take a third. And possibly that makes the Jonnu Smith selection a bad one. But the thing is, no receivers in that range were that appealing. We know that Gerald Everett's going to be off the board by the time we get back. And obviously, if we would have passed on to Jonnu, he would have been as well. So the tight end player pool that we would be looking at is going to be significantly worse. So then we're just going to get a Jonnu Smith there. Okay, Evan Ingram at the 1308. It is interesting to see Evan Ingram go over Gerald Everett. Evan Ingram is someone that I actually have drafted in a ton of leagues. Let me go scroll up to the top of the draft board for anybody who's just now coming into this live stream so you can see what you missed out on. Take a screenshot, pause it, whatever. Feel the need to catch up. And then let's go down to the bottom a little bit more. Okay, now let's put this over here. Abai says, do you trust Jonathan Taylor as a running back 1? Yes, I do trust Jonathan Taylor that he's going to be a top 12 running back this upcoming season. The beginning part of the Indianapolis Colts schedule is actually really tough, so that is concerning. And obviously the injury to Quentin Nelson as well as the injury to Carson Wentz. So maybe the overall offense kind of tanks for the first month of the season. It's going to depend on when we get both Wentz and Quentin Nelson back. But with positive reports coming out about Carson Wentz and his timetable for recovery, I think that we can look at it as a situation where, I mean, if Wentz and Quentin Nelson are healthy, Jonathan Taylor is a locked and loaded running back 1. Maybe you make the argument that he's a low in running back 1, not a high in running back 1, but he's a running back 1. Kyle says he thinks he went too running back heavy. Okay, so let me go through. Let me try to find. I'm assuming Kyle is Kyle Warren. Yeah, I'm assuming it's K Warren. I'm going to assume that's Kyle. I think that's safe to assume. So let's look at this. So here he goes with an Alvin Kamara to start at the 105. I'll say I actually got Alvin Kamara at the 106 in one of those Best Ball Mania drafts today. But Kamara at the 105. Then Mixon, Amari, Henderson, Etienne. I think the value you got your running backs at are completely fine. But I think when you go with these 4 running backs, you cannot draft anymore. I think you draft 4 and then you're done. And then you go Dak, Tyler Boyd, Jalen Waddle, Curtis Samuel, Stafford, Gesicki, Nelson Aguilar. I like how you constructed your roster, to be honest. I honestly do. Okay, so let's pull this back up. And we're going to be on the clock in 2 picks. We're done at QB, so we're just going running back, receiver, tight end. Running backs clearly still aren't going to be close to the top of the board in terms of their expected value. We're going to be drafting 5 regardless. And at the same time, I mean, we already have Zeke, Jacobs, Gaskin, so we have a lot of touches coming in. So I think we are fine just punting the running back spot one more round and just going with another receiver here or possibly even a tight end. You know what? I'm probably not going to go with the tight end considering the fact that, I mean, when we do invest, into Dallas Goedert with pick 102. Jonnu Smith with pick 105. I think that it's going to be a tough reach to get another tight end in the 14th round. So instead, let's just get AJ Green here. So we're going to be bringing AJ Green in as our wide receiver 6, I believe. Actually, no, as our wide receiver 7. So wide receiver 7. And then, yeah, so we'll get one more tight end. We'll get 2 more running backs. And I believe we'll have the space for 1 more receiver on this team as well. Kevin says, I'll do a $100 draft, but it keeps sending me to the lobby. Yes, sir. Like I said, Kevin, so the link that is sent in the live chat, that is going to be a link to make sure that you can get set up with your Underdog account, so you can go through and you can make sure that you're all set up for that $100 draft. And like I said, I'm not going to be able to get you that link tonight just because the stream is going, but please shoot me a DM anywhere. Shoot me a DM on Twitter, on Instagram, on Patreon, on Discord, anywhere that you can, because obviously I have no idea how to reach you unless you shoot me that DM. If you send me that DM when we go live tomorrow, I would be very happy to send you that link directly to help you out, to figure it out. So please make sure you send me that DM. I know you have ALS. I am very much wanting to be accommodating. Please, I will do really anything that I can. It's just, I can't directly message you through your YouTube account. So you have to make sure that you send me that DM somewhere and just go, hey, Mason, this is Kevin. Can you send me the DM to the first draft tomorrow? And I'll send you the DM to the first draft before I post it on Patreon. So please, please, please just make sure you shoot me that DM, Kevin, because I literally have no way to reach you through Underdog. I have no way to reach you through YouTube. You just have to shoot me a DM anywhere. Okay, so now let's get back to the draft. Let's pull this back up real quick. So we're just going, okay, after we take a AJ Green, I'm kind of glad we see the board fall the way it does. You don't have any more running backs going off. So now possibly we actually look to start drafting some on this team. You know what? I'm going to maybe push it a little bit. No, I was going to possibly consider getting a Cole Kmet here. I'm a pretty big fan of Cole Kmet, but the problem is, I think that he's not necessarily adding anything special to Dallas Goedert, Jonnu Smith. So instead, let's just get best available running back in Xavier Jones. Let's just bring in Xavier Jones as our running back 4 on this team. Getting him behind ADP. We're just kind of looking for running back touches at this point. Art says, hey, Mason, what are your thoughts on my 104 team? Okay, let's go up. Let's look at the team at the 104 really quick. So at the 104, Devontae Adams, Najee Harris, George Kittle. Love the first 3 rounds. Love T. Higgins. So here with Claypool, this is intriguing because I think I would agree going with a receiver if it wasn't for taking Devontae Adams at the 104. Possibly it'll be a little better to just get a running back coming in, like maybe get a Travis Etienne and Josh Jacobs over Chase Claypool. I understand the thought process of wanting to make sure you have those 3 receivers locked and loaded, but a big thing is you're just having such a significant opportunity cost for a good reason because Devontae Adams is that elite talent, but you have that opportunity cost passing up on these running backs. So I think when you get a gift and you're able to take a Travis Etienne at the 504, personally, I would do that. Like, I think I definitely prefer the combination of Travis Etienne and Cortland Sutton compared to a Chase Claypool and a Trey Sermon. So I think that's one swap that we would look to make. Then LaVisca, then you get the massive stack with Rodgers and Devontae Adams, James Conner at the 904, Terrace Marshall, Jamal Williams. You get Trevor Lawrence, get that stack going up there with someone like LaVisca Chenault, which would make even that pick of a potential Travis Etienne look that much better. Then Sterling Shepard, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Anthony Firkser. I will say I think you're probably done at tight end once you get the combination of George Kittle and Anthony Firkser. Okay, so now let me go back to the draft board. Let's figure out where we're going to go with our next selection. So here, we still need 1 more running back. We need 1 more receiver and 1 more tight end. Because I don't think we're done at receiver. Yes, we have some good names, but the depth ends pretty quickly on this team. Why are people drafting Jared Cook this aggressively? Isn't Jared Cook's 36 years old, isn't he? Let me look this up. 34 years old. Okay, I just embarrassed myself. I do not think I've drafted Jared Cook in a single league this offseason. I'm saying this trying to get people, I'm trying to get one of these teams to take Jared Cook. I was hoping one of those teams would take Jared Cook. That way we'd have an excuse to take an Austin Hooper. But when we're playing in so many leagues, I can't take an Austin Hooper in every single draft over Jared Cook. If he's 20 picks behind him in ADP, I can literally get Austin Hooper 2 rounds later in some drafts. So instead, I think we just get a Jared Cook, and then we're going to figure out running back and receiver later on. Yeah, so we're going to get Cook there, even though I do not like it. It's 21 picks behind ADP. And then directly after that, we get Blake Jarman. So now that we have 3 tight ends, we're going to be done at the tight end position. So we are going to be looking for those teams to hopefully start taking these tight ends from us, because we do not need any more tight ends coming on. So hopefully we get some teams going tight end, quarterback, getting these players off the board, leaving us some running backs and wide receivers that we'd like to choose from. Zach Ertz goes to the 16-11. Okay, that is going to be great. Austin Hooper at the 16-12. Austin Hooper was a tight end. I'm significantly higher on Hooper compared to consensus, but it's kind of crazy that in some drafts you can literally get him the 17th, 18th round, which in my opinion makes no sense whatsoever. And also, we passed 400 likes on this live stream. Thank you so much, my dudes. Thank you. Okay, so it looks like Fantasy Dog loves the Jared Cook pick. My man, hopefully that Jared Cook pick is bad, because if that Jared Cook pick is bad, we're probably going to be making a decent amount of money this year. Because I have Jared Cook nowhere. Okay, so come on. What is Ben Roethlisberger and Sam Darnold still doing? We need them off the board. You know what? Maybe we actually consider going with one. So could we stop at... No, we only have 7 receivers. I think we need another receiver, to be honest. I think we need another receiver. Who would provide us more points throughout the season? Let's try to figure out what receiver would we draft compared to a quarterback. So who's giving us more realistic points sliding into this starting lineup between Ben Roethlisberger and a Donovan Peoples-Jones? It's probably Donovan Peoples-Jones, to be honest. Let me look up a name real quick. I didn't see him go off the board. I wasn't paying attention. Malcolm Brown goes, so we can't get Malcolm Brown. So let's just draft Donovan Peoples-Jones. Malcolm Brown is someone that if you're drafting in a lot of leagues and you're seeing him fall to one of the last few rounds, you have literally, it's like you have to do it. You're legally obligated to draft Malcolm Brown if you see him falling. Where did he go in this draft? Okay, so he goes to the 1601. That's a great pick. I honestly probably should have gone with Malcolm Brown over Xavier Jones. The thing is, Malcolm Brown's a little less appealing on this roster because we have Myles Gaskin. And I kind of already made that bet by drafting Myles Gaskin in the 7th round, so don't necessarily want to go out of our way and try to just reach on a Malcolm Brown here. Instead, I'd rather have him on a different type of team. And now Olamide Zaccheaus at the 1709. So thank God we see some quarterbacks go off. And also, we're literally the only position that we can look at after this is going to be running back. Okay, so Andrew says, is having a 25% exposure to MCM decent? Who is MCM, my man? Andrew, let me know who MCM is. Maybe I am just being a complete idiot here. CX Lids says, I was playing in the Puppy 3 and Tim Tebow went in the 10th round. Oh my gosh, guys. This is what I'm talking about by saying that the public leagues on Underdog are so soft. Like, I honestly think that like next year when people are a lot more used to drafting on here and they have the experience, that's why I'm trying to get as many leagues going for y'all this year as possible, because I think you can actually win a decent amount of money this year. Next year, I think it's going to be a lot harder. I think next year it's going to be so much tougher to win money on Underdog. But as of now, it's like going to the West with the gold rush, to be honest. Now, Isaac coming out with a donation. Thank you so much. You're saying, hi, I had the 102 pick. It was fun drafting with you. I took McLaurin because I'm hoping Fitzmagic booms early. Okay, let me go through. After I get done with this pick here, let me check out your team at the 102. Thank you so much for joining this draft with us. I do really appreciate it. And so here at the 102, let's go, and we're literally only looking running back. So these teams probably looking running back as well, considering they have 4. I don't know which running backs they took. Party till she's hot. Yeah, probably going running back. So he goes Tevin Coleman. Interesting. This team goes Ramajo Stevenson. I knew they were going Stevenson. Okay, so now at this point, I think we just go Kenneth Gainwell, someone I don't necessarily like whatsoever. We don't have Miles Sanders on this, so it is what it is. So let's take Gainwell, and I want to go through real quick, show you all the top of the draft board. And as we show the top of the draft board, let's check out Isaac's team here at the 102, where he goes through and he says, Dalvin, Keenan Allen, McLaurin, Adam Thielen, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Williams. So I do love the idea of going with an early running back and then just slamming in receivers here. So I love the thought process, man, but I just have such a hard time looking at McLaurin over Jefferson. I mean, Jefferson at 21 years old last year put up a better season than McLaurin has ever come close to, and McLaurin's going to be 26 this season. And then we go down beyond this. Herbert, did you take, getting this stack with Herbert, you get a double stack, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, AJ Dillon is your running back too. I love the construction of this team. 2 quarterbacks. Isaac's team was fantastic. I just think it was asinine to go with a Terry McLaurin over a Justin Jefferson. Beyond that, we were talking about the roster construction itself. I really do like it. Okay. Aaron says he drafted at the 112, asking us what we think. Let's go through. Okay, so we already covered a decent amount. So Eckler, Taylor, we covered up to here where I really liked the first about 9 rounds. Higbee, Irv. Let's go back to the draft board. So we're back down at Higbee and Irv Smith as your 2 tight ends. I think I agree. I think when you go Higbee and Irv Smith at the 10:01 and the 11:02, I think we're probably only drafting 2 tight ends in this build. Now we go Latavius, Phillip Lindsay, Malcolm Brown. How many quarterbacks did you get here? You got Fitzpatrick, Lamar. I agree with that. How many receivers? Julio, Godwin, Robbie, Fuller, Cooks, Corey Davis. You got 9 receivers. I really do like that team. Okay. My dudes, I think we are going to be done with this live stream. Thank you, everybody who came out. And I mean, we will be live streaming every single night. Every single night. I promise you that. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come through. That way you can come hang out with us in these live streams, get in a draft as well. And let me go through and I will send a link out real quick for our free fantasy football group chat. And remember, if you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy and you want our 2021 draft guide and our 2021 rankings, just shoot me a DM on either Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Discord, wherever with your email to confirm that you signed up for Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK. I'm probably going to be sending out those draft guides for the next hour or so, and I'm going to be continuously sending those out all the way leading up until the season. So let me grab the link to our free fantasy football group chat. Don't need an email, don't need a credit card, don't need anything. I'm not trying to sign you up for a mailing list. I'm going to send that out. I'm going to spam it out. Now, Dak says, great if you have time, redraft guy mainly. I'm really sorry, my man. I already put up the draft. I am so sorry about that. I'm sorry. But let me send this out. Let me send this out. And yeah, thank you for all your support, guys. We just passed 30,000 subscribers. That is massive. And Teresa says, Mason, in my friend league, someone took Mahomes at the 101. That's why your friend leagues are nothing. That's why you're going to be able to crush your friends every single time, because you actually know how to play the game. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Really hope y'all have a great night. Shoot me that DM if you signed up for promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. And yeah, I think that should be it. Have a good one.